Across the southeast of the country, though, quite a bright start, some sunshine to start the day, but across the southwest, those outbreaks of showery rain arriving quite early in the morning, and across parts of Northern Ireland, we'll still see quite a cloudy and damp start to the day. Western parts of Scotland also seeing some outbreaks of showery rain, but eastern parts of Scotland, northeastern parts of England will see some brighter spells to start on Sunday morning. As we then go through the rest of the morning and through into Sunday afternoon, those outbreaks of showery rain continue to push their way northwards, perhaps turning heavy at times, not completely ruling out the odd rumble of thunder too, particularly across the southwest first on Sunday morning. The southeast faring better across in terms of any drier or brighter weather, and it's going to feel really quite mild and quite muggy compared to what we've seen recently, highs of 25, 26, perhaps even 27 degrees. Then through Sunday evening, that showery rain continues to push its way northwards, turning drier across the southeast, some clear spells developing here through Sunday evening. And then it's going to remain quite changeable as we head through much of next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, seeing some showers, some longer spells of rain, but those temperatures returning much closer to average, so feeling fresher than Sunday.
Expect warm spells, with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online, and digital radio. I'm Nana Akua, and for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next few hours, journalist and broadcaster Ingrid Tarrant, and editor and contributor at Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. Coming up, it's been a huge couple of days for Reform UK. We'll hear live from Nigel Farage later this hour.
Every chance now of a general election happening in 2027, and we must be ready.
So while Reform UK have been plotting how to win the next general election, Labour have been falling apart. Sir Keir Starmer's right-hand man, Darren Jones, has been trying to put a brave face on it.
The Prime Minister was already planning a reshuffle. I'll be honest, he wanted to do it in a slightly slower time frame. When it became clear that Angela was going to leave government, the Prime Minister took decisive action and decided to bring that reshuffle forward and just get the job done on Friday.
So, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should Reform UK fear the new Labour cabinet? Shabana Mahmood is in her first full day as the new Home Secretary, and GBNews' sources expect more than 600 small boat migrants to cross the Channel today. Viewers can see some who've arrived in Dover this morning, and I'll be asking what can Labour do to end the crisis. And in my difficult conversations, I'll be joined by a property expert, Julie Ford, because Angela Rayner might not be Housing Secretary anymore, but the hated Renters' Rights Bill is still there, and it's threatening to make life very tough for landlords. We'll get stuck into that one. But before we get started, let's get your latest news with Aaron Armstrong.
Very good afternoon to you. 2 minutes past 3. I'm Aaron Armstrong. A senior minister has denied the government's in crisis after Angela Rayner's resignation triggered a major cabinet reshuffle. Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, Darren Jones, says Sir Keir Starmer now has the strongest team in place after his former deputy quit for breaching the ministerial code. 2 ministers were sacked yesterday, with a dozen moving to new roles. David Lammy replaces Miss Rayner as Deputy Prime Minister. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper is now the Foreign Secretary, with her former role going to the ex-Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood. Further changes are expected today, but Darren Jones insists this was always the plan, rather than a hasty reset to regain control.
This is the second chapter of the Labour government. The first chapter, the first year, being a new government coming in, getting a grip with the crises, putting out the fires that we'd inherited from the Conservatives. And now we're on to chapter 2, where we get to really start to drive delivery of the promises of change that we made to the public at the last election.
Come off it. It's a panicked reshuffle in response to Angela Rayner's resignation, right? Be honest with us.
I'm being honest with you, it's not, because the Prime Minister was already planning a reshuffle. I'll be honest, he wanted to do it in a slightly slower time frame. When it became clear that Angela was going to leave government, the Prime Minister took decisive action and decided to bring that reshuffle forward and just get the job done on Friday.
Nigel Farage has rowed back on yesterday's pledge that he'd stop small boat crossings within 2 weeks of taking office. The Reform UK leader made the claim at his party's conference, which concludes later, but he has since clarified the timescale, saying it would rely on any government he led passing laws first. Mr Farage told GBNews he would introduce similar legislation to that passed by Australia over a decade ago to stop arrivals from Indonesia.
I'm looking at the Australian example. Australia grappled with this for years. The boats coming from Indonesia, they tried all sorts of things. They tried offshore processing. They tried to pass various pieces of legislation, and frankly, none of it worked. Until suddenly, in 2012, the Prime Minister of Australia said, "I've had enough." He started towing the boats back to Indonesia, and within 2 weeks they stopped coming.
But you'd have to change laws, and that would take time. It would all have to go through Parliament to pull out the ECHR.
Yes, it will take 2 weeks. Once we get the legislation in place, it will take 2 weeks.
Once you get the legislation in place. It sounded yesterday like you said you would stop within 2 weeks of coming into power.
We will start within 2 weeks of legislation being passed. We'll stop the boats.
More than 100 firefighters have been tackling a blaze at the BBC's former White City headquarters in West London. 15 fire engines were called to the 9-storey building on Wood Lane. Authorities say the fire is currently affecting the top floors of the building. That includes a restaurant and an unknown number of flats potentially impacted. Nearby buildings have been evacuated as a precaution, and Wood Lane has been closed to traffic. People have advised to avoid the area. Hundreds of people are risking arrest by demonstrating their support for the banned group Palestine Action. Tensions have been rising in Parliament Square this afternoon as hundreds of protesters in central London have gathered carrying flags and signs that read, "I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action," and that the group has been prescribed under anti-terror laws. A number of demonstrators have been handcuffed and detained by officers, with similar rallies taking place in Belfast and Edinburgh. Meanwhile, Israeli officials have urged all residents of Gaza City to relocate to the so-called humanitarian zone of Al-Mawasi in the south as it prepares to expand its military operation. Israeli forces have bombed a high-rise building in Gaza City on Friday. They claimed it was being used by Hamas and that civilians were pre-warned. And the military has been carrying out heavy strikes on the city for weeks now. They are advancing towards the centre of Gaza City, forces around a couple of kilometres from that place. And finally, a surfer has died after being attacked by a shark off the coast of Sydney's popular northern beaches. The 57-year-old man suffered critical injuries, including losing a number of limbs after he joined friends in the water off Long Reef Beach. Authorities say it's the first deadly shark attack in the city since 1963, and it has prompted the closure of several beaches. Those are your headlines. More coming up at 3:30.
Thank you, Aaron. Good evening, or afternoon even. See, I'm still in last night mode. It's just coming up to 7 minutes after 3 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Now, in a moment, I'll be crossing live to the Reform UK conference. And later this hour, we will hear live from both Nigel Farage and Richard Tice. So, after Shabana Mahmood was named the new Home Secretary, in this Great British debate coming up in this hour, I'll be asking, should Reform UK fear the new Labour cabinet? Later on, I'll be joined by property experts as well to find out why landlords are worried that they'll be hammered by Labour in the autumn budget. Of course, the renters' reform is on the way. That's coming up as ever. Send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say. So let's start with the second day of the Reform UK conference. Nigel Farage and Richard Tice will both speak live on GB News. We'll be bringing you that within the next 45 minutes. But let's cross to Birmingham and at the NEC where the conference is being held and speak to our political editor, Christopher Hope. So, Christopher, we heard the first speech, Sarah Pochin. It was a very interesting speech, made some very potentially controversial comments. How did that all go down?
Well, pretty well in the hall. I mean, applause after virtually every statement. I think it was a kind of a wish list of what the right might want from a government. She talked, didn't she, about repealing inheritance tax on family farms, repealing the Online Safety Act, setting up a veterans group to stop them being prosecuted for doing their job, she said. They're concerned here at the Reform Conference about this Islamophobia definition being drawn up by a committee chaired by Dominic Grieve. Of course, he's the former Conservative Attorney General. She said that we are fundamentally a Christian country, and that did cut through, I think, the audience in the hall. She said that are we going to find ourselves arrested and thrown into jail? I'll see you in jail, said the MP for Runcorn. Quite extraordinary. That went down very well in the hall. She talked about what she said was an increase in rape and sexual assaults, and she linked that, without any evidence, I think, though, to the increase in migrants coming to the UK in the past 20 years. But she said it in the hall. It went down well amongst the supporters of this party. She talked about deporting all foreign national prisoners. She said the government would be building, a reform government would be building what they call Nightingale jails to relieve overcrowding and ensure that all foreign national prisoners are deported. And she finished with a flurry saying we want to be able to fly flags, our flag, our Union Jack flag, and presumably the St George's flag if you're English, without encumbrance in this country. All this happens with the backdrop in London, where I've been for the past 36 hours, covering this extraordinary reshuffle of the ministerial jobs in government. We know that the cabinet's been reshuffled, but right now junior ministers, and there's lots of those, maybe as many as 80, are finding out who's up, who's down, who's in, who's out. So far, no update yet. I've got an inkling that there may be a clear out of junior ministers at the Home Office as they try and reset how to deal with the small boats crisis, but we'll be bringing that to you as soon as we get it. But with me now at the Reform UK conference is Alan Miller, who runs the Together Association, Together campaign. Alan, thank you for joining us today. Is it Together Alliance, forgive me, or the
Association, that's right.
Thank you for joining us. You were launching a campaign here called For the Trailer of Truth. Now, we heard earlier from Sarah Poach, and she says that family farmers would not have to pay more for their inheritance tax. They'd reverse those plans being brought forward by Rachel Reeves. What is the Trailer of Truth?
Yeah, the Trailer of Truth is an initiative, it's a project, it's across Britain. It started on the 3rd at Truro, and it's a trailer that goes to county shows, live fairs, villages and towns, with the public engaging and supporting with our farmers. Farmers to Action have launched it. Farmers to Action represent thousands of farmers across the UK. There's 3 trailers actually, one going across England, one coming from Wales and one coming from Scotland.
And what's the point of it? You sign the wagon, you sign the tractor, then what?
Yeah, and then it ends up on the 28th of September outside Labour Party conference. It's to show the public support for family farms and for food security. Farmers to Action say that we need to end inheritance tax for everyone. It's a death tax. There's enormous support with veterans and businesses and the public already for Farmers to Action. So this is part of engaging with the public, and it's something that Together does a lot, like with our campaign against digital ID, forced digital ID for a digital Bill of Rights.
And you see quite a line, don't you, with the Reform UK Party. Back on the farmers, though, Farmers for Reform launched today. Are you part of that group as well?
I think
or you're apolitical?
I think it's a fantastic initiative, Farmers for Reform. I think that because Reform has come out and said that our food security is important, and on inheritance tax, they're 2, existential critical questions for farmers. Farmers to Action is not political as such, but obviously it's clear that we were just in North Wales and Labour are not listening to farmers. In fact, they're doubling down, and we'll see at the budget late October, November, if it's the same people we're talking to, but with Rachel Reeves and Steve Reed, if they've actually listened. But we're at a critical crisis.
Now, of course, Emma Reynolds now, isn't it? So
yes,
Steve Reed's moved in the reshuffle overnight. Emma Reynolds is the new Environment Farming Secretary.
Yes. Difficult to keep up at the moment with everything.
It's my job to know this kind of thing, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I think in a similar way to what we're seeing with the public, where we're having these things said about us and to us, and you were talking just before about some of the things that were said at conference, 2-tier, can we raise a flag, are we going to be name called? We have grave concerns around digital ID and the forced imposition of these things.
We're going towards that now, aren't we? You're hearing a lot of language on the issue of the digital ID. I remember back in the day when the government looked at actual ID cards. I got a sample card when I was a Home Affairs journalist at the Daily Telegraph, somewhere in my drawer. This isn't the same, no, it's a digital thing on your mobile phone.
Tony Blair, they paid 20 billion on that according to the LSE, and the British public did not want it. But Tony Blair and the Blair Institute, it seems to be every answer to any question is digital ID. So during lockdowns and COVID, it was digital ID vaccine passports we fought then.
But isn't the point, though, it means you can't disappear if you're an illegal migrant?
Yeah, well, you
can basically come and go from these hotels, disappear into the black economy where they've gone.
Yes.
If they need to have a digital ID, then the government can keep track of them. But you're worried maybe about innocent people too. Well, not I say innocent people who are Brits who live here anyway and shouldn't need to be
Yeah,
ID.
well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if you look at France and Spain and Italy, where they have all these national ID cards, they still manage to move around there and not do that, and they come illegally. So I think it's a false premise, and I think that we have a situation where we do know that we're being tracked and surveyed. We've seen that from the Twitter files and the lockdown files. We've seen the Rapid Response Unit, the Counter Disinformation Unit. We've seen discussions around fining people or overstepping their carbon footprint. We've seen debanking. We've seen the Online Safety Act, non-crime hate incidents in every array of life.
So is your concern a kind of big brother?
Digital ID becomes a way that you track and survey and limit and suffocate. And we're saying that we need the same protections that you'd need if someone wanted to check your home and have a warrant, or look at your mail or listen to your phone. It's that we need to protect and ring fence with a digital Bill of Rights.
I'm with you.
All of the areas in this fast-moving technical arena.
So it's a fear about Big Brother. The state's watching us all the time. At some point, Brits need to say no.
Absolutely. And, you know, the thing is, when you ask questions, or if you talk about places like the Bell Hotel and you've got the Women in Pink, there was a time quite recently you'd be shadow banned or you'd be censored and shut down. Obviously, some people have been imprisoned for posts, not everyone, because other people do posts that they then delete, but they don't go to prison. I don't think anyone should go to prison for posts, but the the important thing is here is that we don't have an all-encompassing system that can basically become like a social credit system. We've seen so many egregious measures. Britain at the end, parliamentary democracy, Magna Carta, the Enlightenment, values of privacy, democracy, and yet we're seeing some who want to suffocate those things, weaponise the judiciary. We're very concerned about these civil liberties.
But people are also concerned about illegal migrants, keeping track of them, CCTV, maybe having a digital ID card is a price we need to pay to keep safe in this country. It's not worth... Aren't you being a bit, may I say, paranoid about the state watching us?
Well, I was paranoid the last 5 years during lockdown. It's interesting to see what they did do, and like we've had the biggest assault on civil liberties that we've seen pretty much ever. But
but that's over now. The state's retreated now, and we're pretty much free to do what we like, aren't we?
Well, I'm not sure. They've still got a counter-disinformation unit that still pursues people. We still see that there are things that go on with algorithms. We've got an online safety act that's outsourced censorship to big tech, so you get taken down if you say certain things or you do certain things. People are being imprisoned. We've seen the response to Southport. We saw the Prime Minister talk about people being put on remand straight away, and Yvette Cooper.
But those are all choices by the government, aren't they?
Well, indeed. So if you have a government that puts in an infrastructure that can do these things, then you necessarily have a situation, even if they're very nice, you may get another bunch or not that are not very nice. The point is that everything from low traffic neighbourhoods and fining people for going places to what you say online to where you're banking or not, we've seen all these measures come under attack, and the idea that it's now going to solve the boats or fraud or crime is completely nonsense. Now, there does need to be an addressing of dealing with the boats and illegal migration. People are furious about it. That takes a robust response. That takes things like people saying we are actually going to send the boats back. We are going to deal with this in a proper way, and not get the whole of the British public who have already got all sorts of identification, national insurance number, driving licence, passports. We don't want forced digital ID. We can have technology, but we don't want a super state, a biometric surveillance state.
Is it not very British, Alan?
Definitely not very British, Christopher.
It does seem that way. Well, Alan Miller, thank you for joining us today on GB News. I mean, I think the haul in now would be approving of what you're saying there.
Thank you very much.
Alan Miller there, Dawn, Nana, forgive me, Nana, with raising concerns, I think, about this increasing big state we have in this country.
Thank you very much, Christopher. I don't look anything like Dawn. In fact, I'm the exact opposite. I'm like the reverse image. Thank you, Christopher. Really
I'm so sorry. I was just...
It's all right. You can't see me. I can see you. It's fine. Let's say enough said about that. Right, so we've listened to Sarah Pochin's speech. You heard it live here on GB News. Still to come, of course, Nigel Farage will be speaking alongside, of course, Richard Tice, who we'll have on very shortly. But let's get the views of my panel. Journalist and broadcaster Ingrid Tarrant and editor and contributor at Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. Ben McLean, welcome. This is your first time. Here. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, lovely to be here. Thank you.
Do not be afraid. It's lovely to get lots of views. Ingrid Tarrant, let's start with you. You're a returner. You did you hear Sarah Pochin's speech? And what were your thoughts on what she was saying?
Well, I support really everything that she's saying. It's optimistic. It's positive. It's pretty strong. Maybe slightly unrealistic in certain areas. Building more prisons, the Nightingale and everything, that is a good thing. But funnily enough, that's one thing I slightly am uncomfortable with. That's something that the Labour Party have promised to do, sort of invest another $7 billion or whatever in more prisons. But we're almost attacking it from the wrong end. We should be lowering the number of prisoners going into prison.
I think she was partly referring to that for sort of migrants as well, or she did say... Actually,
well, yes, that comes into it. So it covers it. It's a bit of a murky area, that, because really we shouldn't be accommodating more. We should be actually trying to stop more being imprisoned.
But you can't control that. If you've got lots, you've got lots. Ben, what did you think of what she said?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a very impressive speech. Like, I might disagree with it, but nonetheless,
what
I
did
thought
you
it was an
disagree with?
impressive speech. Almost every word of it. To be honest with you, almost every word of it. However, she did say one thing that I agreed with, and I think that the left could stand to learn from, and that's that we should be putting forward people's real concerns, real people with real concerns. People are sick in this country of political weather vanes who clearly don't speak what they actually think. They're people who instead speak either for their donors or because they think that's what people want to hear. And I think that is what, something that the left and the right can find common ground on. You know?
Yeah. All right. What was the worst bit for you?
To be honest, I heard it just back there. I remember disagreeing, but I can't remember it all back because I was literally just listening to it back there.
There'll be loads more anyway, because we're in a very shortly we'll have Richard Tice on. We'll take his speech live from the Reform UK conference in Birmingham. But it is right now time for the Great British Giveaway. It's our biggest prize to date, worth an incredible £104,000. You could win a 4-berth motorhome and 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here are the details.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Sorry.
Good luck. It's the 21 minutes after 3 o'clock. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. And at 3:30, we'll be hearing from the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice. And then he will be followed by Nigel Farage, who will wrap up the concert. I'm thinking of Dame Andrea Jenkins there. She did her singing. The conference at 10 to 4. And both of those speeches will be broadcast to you live here on GB News. Do not go anywhere. But next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, should Reform fear the new Labour cabinet? This is GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, Jeremy Clarkson is being praised for his role in inspiring the next generation of farmers. His documentary shows the ups and downs of British farm life, and now the Royal Agricultural University in Gloucestershire has credited it with a rise in applications. Good stuff, eh? We can now speak with the agriculture student at Gloucestershire's Hartpury University, Joseph Watkins. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me. What a scene you've got there. Do you think it's going to inspire another generation? You're a young man yourself. Has it inspired you at all?
For anyone watching, it's just amazing to see, isn't it? All the different steps they take, all the different revenues which they can create on farm. So I think it's really good for the public. And if it does something to help get people into the industry, I think that's an amazing thing. Agriculture has both a lack of skilled talent and just a lack of people in the industry anyway. So if someone wants to go and do a college course or university course to get into the agriculture industry because they watch Jeremy Clarkson, this old pot-bellied Top Gear man, then I think it's great. And I say that with all due respect. I love Top Gear.
Well, we were talking about the ups and downs of farm life. What are the... First of all, let's start with the ups. What are the ups?
They're pretty beautiful ladies, you know, surrounded by 600 lovely ladies. That's certainly something. Working outside, you know, you're working with your hands. It's definitely a rewarding experience to be able to go home after a long day and think, right, everything's taken care of. All of these cows are all happy. Some of the downs, it's difficult, isn't it? You've heard this, I'm sure you know. The farm tax, family farm tax, has been in the news lately. At the early mornings, late nights, being away from friends and family, strenuous jobs, and often at times dangerous. So there's ups and downs to it, but as you can see now, I think the positives outweigh the negatives for me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Fast approaching 26 minutes after 3 o'clock. You're with me, I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Very shortly, we will be bringing you the live speech from Richard Tice at the Reform UK conference at the NEC in Birmingham. It is their conference. Yesterday it started, it will end today. Later on we'll also have the speech from Nigel Farage, which we will get the thoughts of my panel and also your thoughts at home. gbnews.com/your say. But it's now time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, should reform fear the new Labour cabinet? Sir Keir Starmer has made a number of major changes. Yvette Cooper has been moved to the Foreign Secretary. Unbelievable. With Shamana Mahmood replacing her as Home Secretary, whilst David Lammy is the new Deputy Prime Minister, and others have moved as well. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking... should Reform UK fear the new Labour cabinet? Well, joining me now, journalist and broadcaster Ingrid Tarrant and editor and contributor at Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. Ben McLean, is this a scary moment in Reform's history where they've seen the shuffling of the deck chairs of the Titanic?
I'm laughing because I don't think it's a scary moment for Reform. I mean, why would you fear something that is essentially just a light version of yourself? Like, why would you fear somebody who's trying to imitate you in almost every aspect? Like, I don't see that. Keir Starmer's approach is really strange to me, telling the world for the past, year, 2 years, more, that Reform are correct, that migration is sort of the biggest issue, and making a whole big thing about migration, deportations, all of this stuff, and then saying, OK, Reform are correct about all of that, but just please vote for me instead. It's a wild strategy to me. I don't understand.
But he hasn't made a big thing of it, has he, really? He said that he would set up the Border Command and Control, and then they couldn't get anybody to sit in that spot to lead it for at least 9 months. But throughout that, in many of his speeches, he's actually ignored the question of migration, illegal migration, on many things, which has really upset the viewers and voters.
Well, he's put up videos of deportations. Like, this is very Trumpian. Like, I hardly think he's ignored it, really.
He's just started it because he's now realised. I mean, there was that moment where he did that speech and it was literally a conference about how much he didn't like Nigel Farage. He mentioned Nigel Farage 16 times in a very short space of time. So, I mean, look, Ingrid, what do you think about this? Do you think that Reform have anything to fear from the Labour?
No, not at all. Absolutely not at all. Keir Starmer has not achieved anything in the short time that he's been there. It's just over... Well, no, it's coming up to a year, isn't it? And all the things that he's saying is just empty. It's hot air. He hasn't executed the things. It's empty promises, like so many people do. He's slightly reacting to Reform in so much as beginning to listen to the man on the street. But he won't do anything because he's weak. He is so incredibly weak. The only thing that anybody needs to fear is if they get somebody else to replace Keir Starmer, but then who would replace him? Because they're all a bunch of weak, spineless people who are indecisive.
Well, look, David Lammy, there's been a reshuffle. David Lammy has become Deputy Prime Minister and the Justice Secretary. Was that a good move or bad move?
It's a nothing move, isn't it? What's it going to achieve? What's it going to do?
Right, what about Yvette Cooper, Home Secretary to Foreign Secretary? This is it. What do you think?
I think this is just moving the same pieces around the same board. Like, I really don't see this making the biggest difference because ultimately you can put these people in place. I mean, take Shabana Mahmood, for example. Shabana Mahmood is an impressive figure. Like, she's a KC, she's, you know, and, you know, she's a Muslim, so she's got that aspect of multiculturalism as well, which if you're going to be putting somebody in charge of immigration is obviously something that Keir Starmer wants to take into account. However, there's no way that she'll be able to show off that she's impressive because Keir Starmer doesn't believe anything. And if he doesn't believe anything, it's hard to push for anything. You've got to be able to push for something because people, again, don't want political weather vanes. People want people who actually have moral conviction, who actually believe in things.
Well, what about Angela Rayner? Angela Rayner probably has that moral conviction. Although maybe, should we just say conviction and not necessarily moral?
Yeah, like, I mean, she didn't have that moral conviction when she voted to keep the two-child benefit cap. Where was her moral conviction then? There's children who are being kept in poverty in this country because of the decisions that Angela Rayner made back then. And, like, I lost sympathy with Angela Rayner because she joined up with people who eventually chose to betray her. And, of course, it was inevitable. She had the chance to join us on the left, and she chose not to. She chose instead to sit silent while Keir Starmer did things like facilitate a genocide and vote to keep the two-child benefit cap.
Well, some people would
no sympathy
for genocide. I mean, that's not really...
Some people would be wrong.
Yeah, but some people... No, well, perhaps... No, because I'm sure many people would disagree with you on that. It's not,
of course they would. It doesn't make them right.
It's a war. In war, there'll be many deaths. Tragic though that is.
That's true.
It's not necessarily a genocide.
That's true, but
when the other side won't negotiate or won't release hostages.
Well, I mean, they will negotiate and will release hostages. They have released hostages.
Yeah, but they won't release the rest of them.
Wait, if they haven't released, if they won't release hostages, how come they have?
So are you actively saying that you're supporting Hamas?
No. When did I say that?
Well, I'm just wondering because that's what that moves to, doesn't it? Because at the end of the day, if you're saying that it's a genocide and this and that and the other, I get it. We don't want people to die, but Hamas have not released the hostages, and they've been asked to do that on multiple occasions.
I mean, they have done deals that have released hostages.
Yeah, but they haven't released all the hostages. You know that.
Yes, I do in fact know that.
Can I just say something?
It is a genocide.
But on the other side of it, the Israelis are not releasing the Palestinian hostages, and there are thousands more that are being kept there without trial, without anything. So that's... I'm sorry, we have to look at this as a level playing field.
The level playing field is October the 7th happened, Hamas took hostages, and Israel said, we will stop this if you release the hostages.
Yeah, but that was their only leverage.
Let me finish. Okay. They've refused to do so. So wherever you're...
That was a negotiating tool.
Leverage, you're saying. So they now...
Well, it was a negotiating tool.
Mass murder. OK.
Well, no.
I don't think so.
I think we have to go much further back. I think we have to go to 1948, and it's provoke, and it's like, had enough. Why shouldn't they fight back?
Shall we start with the history of mankind, then? Because we can start all the way back.
Yes.
And if we go back, then how far are we going to go
Adam and Eve.
That can't be. That can't be. You have to deal with each situation as it comes, and then you have to move on. And this situation was October the 7th, and there is now a war as a result of that. Otherwise, we can go back and back and back.
No. There's been wars.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go so far back like that, because that's just nonsense.
But it is genocide.
No, but that's what you think. I don't agree with that, and there are many people who don't agree with that as well, because it's a war. Right, 33 minutes after 3 o'clock here with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online, and on digital radio. In the next few minutes, we'll be hearing live from Reform UK's Deputy Leader, Richard Tice. But first, here are your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Good afternoon. Our headlines in the GB Newsroom. Sir Keir Starmer is expected to carry out a reshuffle of junior ministers following Angela Rayner's resignation. The Prime Minister made major changes to his cabinet on Friday. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has altered his pledge to stop small boat crossings within 2 weeks of taking office. He now says arrivals will stop 2 weeks after passing legislation if he forms the next government. Police have begun arresting protesters gathered in Parliament Square in central London who are supporting the proscribed terrorist organisation Palestine Action. Israeli officials have urged all residents of Gaza City to evacuate to a so-called humanitarian zone in the south as it prepares to expand its military operations. And around 100 firefighters are battling a blaze at the old BBC Television Centre at White City in West London. It has since been converted into flats and a restaurant. Those are your headlines. I'll be back with more at 4 o'clock.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. So there's been plenty of sunny spells around for many of us through much of today. But those winds are going to be increasing as we head through the rest of this evening and turning quite a bit warmer than it's felt recently. We've got low pressure situated out to the west of the UK, high pressure out towards the east, and the squeeze in the isobars between those two systems is what will strengthen those winds as we head through this evening. For many of us though, plenty of clear spells as we head through Saturday evening and into the early hours of Sunday morning. Bit cloudier across parts of Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland. Some outbreaks of showery rain pushing up from the south, so turning quite a bit wetter here. And those winds really strengthening across the whole of the UK, but in particular across the west. And that means quite a mild night to come for many of us. Temperatures perhaps holding up into the mid, maybe locally high teens. So a mild and muggy start to the day on Sunday. Across the southeast of the country though, quite a bright start, some sunshine to start the day. But across the southwest, those outbreaks of showery rain arriving quite early in the morning, and across parts of Northern Ireland we'll still see quite a cloudy and damp start to the day. Western parts of Scotland also seeing some outbreaks of showery rain, but eastern parts of Scotland, northeastern parts of England will see some brighter spells to start on Sunday morning. As we then go through the rest of the morning and through into Sunday afternoon, those outbreaks of showery rain continue to push their way northwards, perhaps turning heavy at times, not completely ruling out the odd rumble of thunder too, particularly across the southwest first on Sunday morning. The southeast faring better across in terms of any drier or brighter weather, and it's going to feel really quite mild and quite muggy compared to what we've seen recently, highs of 25, 26, perhaps even 27 degrees. Then through Sunday evening, that showery rain continues to push its way northwards, turning drier across the southeast, some clear spells developing here through Sunday evening. And then it's going to remain quite changeable as we head through much of next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, seeing some showers, some longer spells of rain, but those temperatures returning much closer to average, so feeling fresher than Sunday.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Right, welcome back. You're with me, Nana Akua. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. Now, very shortly, we'll be going live to the Reform UK conference where Richard Tice, the deputy leader, will be speaking. But speaking of deputy leaders, Labour Party are in a bit of a pickle. They've chosen David Lammy as their deputy leader. Now, to be fair to David Lammy, he has managed to sort of climb up the ranks and get some very good jobs. So before that, he was the Foreign Secretary, and now, of course, he's the deputy Labour leader. Is that a sideways move, do you think, or is that nobody cares, do they?
I don't think anybody cares. People are saying it's a sideways move, and then the consolation prize is to be Deputy Prime Minister. So it's kind of win some, lose some. Going back to the Yvette Cooper, though, when we were sort of saying about the moves, was that a good move? Yeah. Actually, it was a good move only in so much as we got Shamoon Mahood to come in. Yes, I can't pronounce her name.
I think is quite an exceptional character.
Yeah.
She actually came up and stood up against the Sentencing Council and their guidelines, which suggested that you should treat people differently in the eyes of the law, depending on their sort of characteristics. So if they were black, if they were this, if they were that, because she said that predominantly, you know, this is, and she pushed against it and fought it and said no. So now when things come through to the Sentencing Council, she now has a veto for any guidelines that they put forward.
Now, she would be a good Prime Minister for Labour or a Labour leader.
I think that she would be somebody who they could consider as a leader for the Labour Party, because I think she's got quite.
I think she's fair. I think she's balanced. I think she's got a very strong moral compass. Yeah.
So I kind of agree with some of the positions that she stands at. But then a lot of people have been talking about Wes Streeting as well, even though he didn't move, he didn't go anywhere because he's got a big NHS mission. But again, I mean, Wes Streeting, what did you think?
I think Wes Streeting's going to have the backing of Morgan McSweeney, and that's one of the things that's going to make the difference, is having the backing of Morgan McSweeney, who is Starmer's current sort of political operator. Why Starmer hasn't fired him, I don't know. I think he's just thrown everything in. Yeah, Morgan McSweeney, because he's sort of always been in favour of this push to the right that the Labour Party are doing this whole like anti-migration push, and it's not working for them. Being reform light is not going to work for the Labour Party. They need to look at figures like Zach Polanski, who are actually pushing back against people like Nigel Farage.
So even further to the left. So would you be somebody who'd be akin to be joining Jeremy Corbyn's party?
Well, yeah, potentially, but it's not really about left and right at the end of the day, or even centre. What it's about is who is willing to push back against these narratives and who is not. Like, that's what it boils down to. Like Zach Polanski, when Nigel Farage came out and said, Angela Rayner should resign over the whole tax thing that went on. Because of that, Zach Polanski said, well, Nigel Farage was paying into a company so he could avoid paying income tax, so he would pay corporation tax instead, which is a slightly lower rate. And Zach Polanski came forward and said, well, he should. I mean, a lot of people do things, and it's not illegal. It's not illegal. You're right. It's not illegal. It's not illegal. But regardless,
if they put parameters in place that you can utilise, then there's nothing wrong with utilising them.
Wait.
Angela Rayner didn't do it correctly.
But that's not the question. Is not whether or not you agree with Zach. The question is Zach pushing back against Nigel Farage? Is he pushing back against the narratives that we're seeing in this country?
But surely Keir Starmer got a massive majority, so there was a lot of support for him. I know not.
No, he didn't.
No, let me finish. I haven't finished.
Out of a very small turnout, out of the 34% turnout.
Those are the conditions of our electoral system. So if that's how we calculate it and that's how it works, then he is considered to have a big majority. Do you think that the Labour Party would actually be wiser to really kind of get behind him, because and he could be stronger and use the whips so that people will vote in favour of the things that he's putting forward? Because they could do that. Labour could make a massive change and a massive difference because they have the power to do it.
Well, they've got the power in so much as they've got the seats and everything, but they haven't got the power and the muscle in what they say, what they think and how they execute it, because they're just not doing it.
All right, well,
they're weak.
Well, it would seem so, but perhaps this reshuffle of the deck chairs might be a good thing. Who knows? Send me your thoughts, gbnews.com/your say. But if you are in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast of some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. We may see a few showers over the Balearics during the course of Sunday. Meanwhile, it's looking fine in Italy. Lots of sunshine for Greece and most of Turkey too. Just a few showers inland. Most of the beaches staying dry and sunny. There will be a few showers, as I said, heading south across Mallorca, perhaps affecting Ibiza as well, and northern parts of Tunisia seeing a little bit of rain. And there's a weak weather front which may bring thick cloud and the odd spot of rain to the Algarve on Sunday. That clears away though by Monday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good afternoon, 46 minutes after 3 o'clock. We are anticipating the imminent speech of Richard Tice very shortly from the Reform UK conference. If you've just tuned in, welcome. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. Let's go live to the Birmingham NEC, where the conference is being held, and speak to our Deputy Political Editor, Tom Harwood, who actually has some breaking news for us. Tom, tell us more.
That's right, Nana. Breaking news. There have been new sackings from the government and new appointments too. Particularly of interest to GB News viewers might be that the farming minister, Daniel Zeichner, has been sacked and left the government. Now, he has been replaced by, let me have a look. I've got the list in front of me here. Angela Eagle is the new farming minister in the Department of Food, Environment and Rural Affairs. This follows Steve Reed, who was the Secretary of State at that department, moving across to the Housing Department. Now, this will be seen as the government admitting mistakes being made when it comes to rural policy, when it comes to policy towards farmers. The two significant ministers in that department when it comes to the government's liaison with farmers and indeed policy regarding regarding farmers, they have both left the DEFRA, as it's known, the Environment, Food, Rural Affairs Department. But also significantly for GB News viewers, there has been an almost total clear-out at the Home Office. Everyone knows that Yvette Cooper, the former Home Secretary, was moved to become the new Foreign Secretary, and Shabana Mahmood is the new Home Secretary. But we now have learnt that underneath the Home Secretary, almost every single MP has been moved. This is a huge admission by the government that they have been failing in the role of Home Affairs, particularly perhaps when it comes to the small boat crisis. I'll get the list up in front of me again. Again, this is just breaking news. I can tell you that in the Home Office, Angela Eagle has lost her job. She has moved to DEFRA, as we were just mentioning, and Dame Diana Johnson has lost her job in the Home Office as well. She's been moved to the Department for Work and Pensions. So that is Yvette Cooper out at the Home Office, Angela Eagle out at the Home Office, Dame Diana Johnson out at the Home Office. The only MP who remains at the Home Office compared to 2 days ago is Dan Jarvis, but he's now splitting his time with the Cabinet Office as well. So an almost total changing of the guard at the Home Office. It's hard to read this as anything other than a huge admission of failure from the government over the course of the last 14 months when it comes to home affairs issues, when it comes to crime, when it comes to migration. I mean, all of the ministers who were dealing with this, they are now out and moved on, and the one remaining has split his responsibilities. What an admission from the government there. What a clear out at the Home Office, and also, as I was mentioning, a significant clear out at the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs as well. Two significant takeaways from this list. Just to run you through a couple of the other moves, people will know Patrick Vallance. Remember him from the COVID days when he was a Chief Scientific Officer? Well, he is a minister at the Science Department, but he's also now becoming a minister in the Net Zero Department as well. So he'll be dividing his time between DESNES, and as it's known, the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero, as well as DCIT, the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. So just some of the breaking news there in terms of those more junior moves within the government. This has been a significant multi-layered reshuffle, but as I say, those two big takeaways, an almost complete changing of the guard when it comes to farmers and immigration.
It is a real admission of failure for Keir Starmer with those, in particular the Home Office. Really interesting to hear all of that. We'll be discussing all of that. So right now, though, Tom, you're at the Reform UK conference. Who's up next and what are we hoping to hear?
Well, interestingly, the special guest on stage at the moment is Lucy Connelly, who, of course, was imprisoned for the best part of a year after a tweet that was deemed to be in breach of the Public Order Act, even though that tweet was only online for around 3 hours. I mean, she is a guest that is going down well in the hall, I can tell you that. But closing the conference today will be the man who began it all, really. Nigel Farage is going to be the big star attraction closing the conference, and he's the man who has been the biggest rock star of all here at the conference, being followed around by whenever he enters the main floor, just throngs of people, photographers, all the razzmatazz that you would expect. So I think we can expect a pretty barnstorming closing of the conference in a few minutes' time.
All right, thank you very much, Tom Harwood. Right, let's go live to the conference now, and let's hear Richard Tice.
Fun? Are we enjoying ourselves? What a party, what an amazing, amazing group of brilliant, wonderful reformers. It's incredible, the size, the scale, the energy, the enthusiasm, the excitement, the hope. And an incredible 2 days, ladies and gentlemen, that we have had. And to listen just then to Lucy, who I had the privilege of meeting a couple of months ago in a slightly different location. It's wonderful to see her back with us and to hear her direct telling her story. And I think that she has a huge opportunity to help reform and help the cause of free speech. Now, these events don't just happen. They don't just happen, ladies and gentlemen. They take a massive amount of work. And I just want to say a huge thank you to our chairman, David Bull, who never gets any thanks, and his team, Aaron Lobo. They've been amazing, absolutely incredible. And just to clarify, David does have more hairspray on than me, as always. Now look, I've got to talk about some bad news, and then we can finish on some good news. Because yes, we do need to talk about the money. Because the reality is that the state of the country's finances are not good. They're in a shocking, shocking state. And all of the important data is bad. Job numbers after the disastrous budget last October are down 160+ thousand. They're falling at a rate, the fastest rate since COVID. Travel spend is down. Construction spend is down. Growth across the board is down. And the wrong numbers are going up. Yes, inflation is going up. We've got the borrowing costs are going up. The amount of borrowing is going up. All of these numbers are heading rapidly in the wrong direction. And just this week, we hit a 30-year high in the cost of the government borrowing money for 30 years. It peaked at about 5.75%. I know I'm a bit anarchy about this stuff, but it matters. And basically, the bond markets are applying what they eloquently call the moron premium to our Rachel from complaints. Or was it a Counselly? I'm not quite sure, but the point is, the bond markets do not trust this government at all. They know that they cannot control public spending that is completely and utterly out of control. And the chances of us getting through the lifetime of this Parliament without some form of financial drama is remote. And I've been speaking to a lot of people very close to the market, and it's a bit tense, it's a bit difficult, to say the least. That's the bad news. The good news, folks, is that actually a reform government will be a strong government under the brilliant, courageous leadership of Nigel Farage. And a reform chancellor will be a strong chancellor who can get our economy motoring again. You won't see a reform chancellor crying on the front benches. And the reality is that we know what is needed to get the economy motoring. We've got to cut the vast amount of wasteful government spending. We've got to get rid of the vast, incredible amount of daft, useless regulations, many of them from our friends, our old friends, the EU. And if we achieve those things, then we can afford what I call performance-related tax cuts. That gives a direction of travel of how we can motivate and enthuse and inspire. And the remarkable thing, folks, is that we're already having an incredible influence. I mean, apart from the fact that we exceeded everybody's expectations in the May elections, controlling 10 councils, the biggest party in another 3, over 800 councillors, no one thought that was possible. But on some of the biggest issues of the day, we're leading the way. So on the issue that the Bank of England is voluntarily paying interest unnecessarily to the rich city banks, I raised it. They scratched their head, what the hell's Tice talking about? Then they looked into it, good Lord, he's right. I wrote a 3-page letter to the Governor of the Bank of England. He wrote back, if you haven't seen it, It's on their website, and I have got a meeting with the governor later this month. They are taking us very, very seriously on that issue. You know what's extraordinary? You can have a scrutiny committee in a council monitoring £5 of expenditure, but you can have a monetary policy committee and a governor of Bank of England making decisions about £100+ billion with no scrutiny from Parliament of any sensible, meaningful kind. It's absolute insanity. Complete insanity. So we're having an influence there. And then the second area where we're having an influence, and where once again we got the numbers right, is on our good old friend, net stupid zero. And it's important to remember, 3-word slogans matter. And it's lovely to see steam oozing out of the ears of Red Ed Miliband when I gently raise it with him politely in the House of Commons. The penny is dropping with people. Contrary to what they said, the bills are going up, they're not going down. The jobs are being destroyed, they're not being created. Industries are being destroyed in front of our very eyes, and it is absolutely disgraceful. Just in Lincolnshire alone, Andrea and I, she's doing a brilliant job as mayor, by the way, as is Luke. Andrea and I have been working incredibly hard to try and save thousands of jobs based around the Lindsey oil refinery, which this government in its ideological stupidity seems to want to close. We've actually introduced potential bidders to this process. That's how we get stuck in to make things happen and to save jobs. In the same way that, frankly, it was because of Nigel and I that British Steel was saved. So we are having a huge influence. We wrote a letter to all of the potential investors in what they call allocation round 7. That rolls off the tongue very nicely. Which is all about more renewable offshore wind farms and solar farms and all the likes. We said, you're on notice. We don't want you signing big long contracts at ever higher bills. You are on notice that we do not consider your contracts from here on valid. This is a con. We're being misled. We're being lied to. I'm going to borrow an old trick from my good friend Lee, who's a brilliant chief whip. Do we want these big subsidy contracts anymore? No. Let's just rip it up. Oh, by the way, given that we're a bit short of cash, and that this government think it's a good idea to waste cash giving away our valuable strategic Chagos Islands, maybe we should keep those too. Anyone fancy ripping up that deal? It's done. It's done. We're not going to tolerate this waste of our cash and this loss of our strategic assets. It's absolutely vital. So we're having a huge influence. I've written to over 100 potential investors in solar farms. Fine, put solar panels on the roofs of homes and industrial units. Lincolnshire does not want 100 square miles of solar panels, least of all from China, covering our agricultural farmland. And we don't want the battery storage either. We've got serious questions about them. And something significant has happened this week, ladies and gentlemen. As we write these letters to these shareholders and investors saying, don't do it, you're on notice. This week, I believe, a planning application for a solar farm and a battery storage has been rejected on concerns about safety next to a school. That is potentially a significant moment. So, and that's the joy of this conference. We're all learning so much. We're making such an influence already. They never thought it could be done. They never thought we could be polling in the lead and all this. But actually we are shaping and influencing how investors think. And that's absolutely vital. So on the one hand, we could save money with the Bank of England. On the other hand, when I said net zero was costing 30 billion of taxpayers' cash, they scratched their head. They said, no, 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 Tice, you're not right there. A year later, the OBR caught up with us. And they did their numbers, and they came up with, guess what? 30 billion. Even our old friends at the Climate Change Committee, they're not our friends, by the way, they said, give or take, it's a similar number. So actually, we're quite good at this stuff. Turns out we're right on the numbers. So when I said last year and before the May elections with others that we could save £5 in 100 on wasteful council and government spending, all the commentators and the journos said, don't be ridiculous, Tice. You can't do it, it's not there. And we said, we all know it's there. And sure enough, this Monday, I exposed the scandal of the mismanagement, the overcharging and the underperformance of the local government pension schemes. And, I mean, this is like, it's like looking down, deep down the back of the sofa. You just dig deeper than anybody else and you find a pile of cash. My God, there's like 8 to 10 billion quid under the sofa. Is that useful? Would that help create a brilliant world-leading social care system and provision in our councils across the country? Is that what we want? Or would you rather be on the side of the rich city investment managers? I didn't think so. So we are hard at work. This is literally reform at work. We're getting stuck in, and we're only 3.5 months into these councils. Imagine what we could do in 3.5 years. Imagine what happens if people listening and watching say, I'd quite like you to run our council, please, next May. Because then we can do the same. And so this stuff is really, really significant. And then we've got all the property portfolios and assets owned by these councils. And from the early stages of what information I've got already, frankly, the mismanagement of those is woeful. So the waste is everywhere. We're after it. Now, there's been a bit of chat recently about this thing. There's a jab flying around. And a jab that sort of helps reduce the size of our waste. So I thought, well, maybe, should we apply a bit of the old Wegovy to slim down the civil service? What about a touch of the old Monjaro to reduce the size of the Quangos? And finally, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, a bit of the Ozempic to reduce the bloated welfare state. I think this could work. So, there's massive amounts of waste to cut out of the system. And I know that only reform can achieve that, because we have been round the block. We've got incredibly successful people in the party at the moment and joining us as we speak. And therefore we know that actually we can also cut the vast amounts of unnecessary, daft regulations. Now I want a bit of audience participation here. Hands up, anyone who likes GDPR. Anyone? Not a single hand up, amounts 4,000 people. Quite right, it's a nightmare. You're always on your phone, yeah, go away, cookies. And do you know what it affects most? Healthcare. I talk to people in healthcare and it's a major, major problem. That brings me on to the other problem. My friends, aren't they lovely? My friends, the bats. I spoke last time about the £100 million bat shed. Well, that was on a national scale with HS stupid too. But here in Lincolnshire, not here in Lincolnshire, but in my county of Lincolnshire, oh yes, our friends at Natural England, they want another bat shed. They want a bat tunnel to go under a relief road that is due to be built in Lincolnshire. 5 million quid. Is that a good use of 5 million quid? I don't think so too. So this week, I've written to the Chief Executive of Natural England and I've said this is really not a very good idea. I hope you support me on this. So I'm looking forward to the reply, because I don't think that's a good use of taxpayers' cash. And if Natural England think that's a good use of our money at any time, then I think a reform government needs to have serious words with Natural England. It's not on. And there's a whole bunch more. What I know, folks, what I know is that this level of influence, shaking things up, disrupting people, challenging people, stopping the rip-offs. You see, essentially, we're now negotiating hard on behalf of the taxpayer. And bluntly, I think there's nobody better than us to do just that. And when we achieve this, when we achieve those savings, we cut the regulations, we can tell our friends in the bond markets, we told you so, this is how we can afford to cut the taxes on a sort of performance-related basis with a direction of travel so that we can get the economy motoring even more. I want 2.5%, 3.5%, like we used to have in the 80s and 90s. That's what makes us better off. That gives us the revenues to get the debt to GDP down. That then drives proper growth and prosperity and more money in our public services. We can do this stuff. And what's incredibly exciting, as I draw towards a close, is that you've seen the membership rise to 241,000+ as we speak. The quantity of incredible people coming to us and saying, you are the party to save Britain. You are the party that understands how business can get things growing again. That is who we are. Incredible people, some of the most successful people. I met a guy this week, a physicist, utterly brilliant, who wants to help just behind the scenes for nothing. This is incredible, folks. I'm so proud of what we're all achieving together. So the good news is that, yes, it's gloomy at the moment. We have to have optimism. We have to look forward. And what I can tell you is that whilst we may be currently in a damp, dark, gloomy, long tunnel of deep socialism, there is light at the end of the tunnel, folks. It's there. It's in front of us. And slowly but surely, that light will get closer and closer. And let me tell you what that light is. It is the light of reform. It is the hope of reform. It is the aspiration of reform. It is the confidence and the belief of reform. Do you fancy a bit of that? Yes. Do you think the country wants a bit of that? Yes. Do you think that's the reason we're leading in the polls? Yes. Folks, do you want to save our United Kingdom? Yes. Do you want to make the United Kingdom great again? Yes. And let's just check here. Would you like to see Nigel Farage as our next Prime Minister? Yes. Then welcome him to the stage. Thank you! I thought it was never going to end. Good afternoon, conference. Richard, what a fabulous speech. Lots of passion, lots of facts, lots of humour. And we all have to remember that without Richard, Reform UK would not have survived as a political party during those very difficult years. And I am very blessed. I am very blessed to have a deputy leader as talented and as hard-working as Richard is. He's a tremendous credit to this party. Give him a round of applause. I'm pleased to see the membership is now up through 242,000, quarter of a million. Here we come! It has been, I really believe it's been the most incredible conference. The big word that comes out of it is energy. The energy has been literally unbelievable. The enthusiasm has been extraordinary. And the fact that you've all stayed right to the very end. And what a strong end it was, wasn't it? Lucy Connelly, wow, what about that? But there was one speech yesterday that made me think deeply about our future. And that was Preston Manning, the founder of the Reform Party of Canada, a party that came from nowhere and took over the government of Canada and ran it well for 10 years. And he talked about the story of how they did it. And there was a point that he made. The point that he made was, when we had our disagreements, we had them in private. Now, you know, you can't get a large number of councillors from a county and everyone's going to love each other, that everyone's going to agree. It's not possible with human beings that that could ever be the case. But my sort of big message at the end of this conference, as we head towards those massive elections in Wales, in Scotland, in London, in the Midlands and elsewhere next year, is that you are the people's army. And to succeed, it needs one thing: discipline. Can we please exercise discipline and air our disagreements between each other in private and not in public? And if we do that, we will succeed. We will. Now, there was another speech yesterday, right at the end, that really did move me. And it was Lee Anderson, who, by the way, can be incredibly funny when he wants to be. But there was a very serious message that came from Lee yesterday, and it talked about good, sound, solid principles. He talked about his life, and it encapsulated everything we're about. He talked about his family. He talked about his community. He talked about his belief in country. He talked about getting up of a morning, going to work. He talked about self-pride, self-respect, getting on with life, not relying on others to bail you out of your problems, whilst at the same time fully understanding there are some in society who do need help. But I think we all know we're now living in a country where we're paying a lot of people not to go to work who should be going to work. And I want to invite Lee Anderson up onto the stage now. Come on, Lee.
Great man.
I was so impressed by what Lee said, and particularly as you'd worked within the system, Lee, hadn't you?
Yeah, I've worked within the system, Nigel. I worked for the Citizens Advice Bureau for many, many years. I saw real poverty, I saw real desperation, but I also saw some people that should have been going to work, some may be swinging the lead sometimes. But it's not fair, because we should always protect our vulnerable, our disabled people, the people that need the real care. But there are millions of people out there And I don't always, to be honest with you, Nigel, I don't always blame the people, because I was lucky. I was lucky in the fact that I lived in a little terraced house with my mum and dad. But like I said yesterday, we were the alarm clock generation. I heard my dad get up in the morning and go and do his shift. Didn't have much money, but that taught me the value of hard work and family. Get out there, do a job, do some graft and provide for your family. And if we all do that, under Nigel Farage's leadership, we'll make this a better country.
Well, having heard all of that, I have no hesitation in announcing henceforth Lee Anderson is this party's welfare spokesman. Congratulations, Lee. Now, can I please just say this? This was the one man that had the guts at the end of the last Parliament to join Reform, and he won his seat with an even bigger majority.
Bigger vote share, yeah.
Bigger vote share. He encouraged people in Ashfield and in neighbouring areas to put their names forward for the county council elections, and we had a massive success. Next year, we're going to need up to 5,000 of you standing in Swindon, standing in bits of Kent, standing in bits of Yorkshire, standing in the West Midlands, Wales, Scotland and London, where we're going to need almost 2,000 people as candidates. Last year, at the end of the conference, I urge people, please put your names forward to be a candidate. And people went out, and the Reform Village is there today, and they volunteered in large numbers. And I have to make that same call to you, conference, this afternoon. Are there people among you prepared to stand up? Prepared to stand up and be candidates next year? Who wants to be a candidate next year? Stand up.
Stand up.
Come on, stand up. Stand up. Stand up. This is the People's Army in operation. Well done, all of you. Fabulous.
Get up.
Come on. Fabulous. Well, thank you. Thank you. You do realise that you're all on camera. You don't mind? Good. Good. There's no turning back for any of you. OK, we're going to end this conference now. I'm going to invite all the other speakers, those that have participated on the stage here over the last 2 days, to come and join Lee and I now and give them a big hand as they make their way up the steps. You better come here.
Well done, Sarah.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the team. Thank you to you for all being here. I'm very proud to lead a party like this. I've had a fantastic conference. I really am honoured to be doing this job with your enthusiasm, encourage, love and support. Now, we will end the conference by singing the national anthem. But I am going to keep the microphone as far away. I'm going to let Andrea Jenkins be the star. So, please stand for the national anthem and travel home safely.
Please join in as well.
God save
So that marked the end of the Reform UK conference there. Leader Nigel Farage spoke, and then before that, that was Richard Tice. Apologies for some of the language there. There was a bit of swearing, so apologies to our viewers and listeners. So a really interesting few words that was said. Richard Tice talked about the incredible few days. Lucy Connelly had spoken before, and she apparently will be doing a lot for Reform UK. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. He talked about the bad news, which of course we need to talk about, which was money, mistakes, the country's finances, the job numbers down. He talked about the fact that a lot of money's been spent and a lot of, in particular, councils overspending money. He said the wrong numbers were going up, inflation, borrowing and interest rates, and this week there's a 30-year high in borrowing, and the bonds markets were very, very concerned. But the good news, he said, as a Reform government will be, with their strong leader, Nigel Farage, will have to fix all of that. He said he's going to get rid of the regulation, red tape, so they can afford to do all the things they want to do. And, of course, they've exceeded their expectations in the elections. So a lot there. He talked net zero, net stupid. And then, of course, we have Nigel Farage speaking as well. Well, we're joined now by the former editor of The Labour List, Peter Edwards, for his thoughts on that, and also to get his view on Keir Starmer's reshuffle. Peter Edwards, welcome to the programme. Peter, did you get a chance to listen to what the speakers were saying, and also to get your views on the Labour Party and what you think they need to be doing right now?
Good afternoon, Nana. So, Reform first. I thought it was an absolute mess. You've got Nigel Farage giving his third speech in 2 days. It seemed to be a bit like an 80s Tory conference, mediated through the prism of a late-night game show. You then had some bad language, as you described, although you didn't repeat it naturally. You had Richard Tice, the deputy leader, who was previously sacked for his own incompetence, saying, great to be here in Lincolnshire, while standing in Birmingham, which is not in Lincolnshire. It then ended with all the Reform MPs and candidates turning their back on the crowd, and of course the announcement of Nigel Farage dropping his key pledge on small boats that they can't fulfil the 2-week promise that they offered. So I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but I thought it was a mess. And it really also begins to show two problems. One is cult of personality around Nigel Farage, and two, the policy platform beginning to collapse under the smallest amount of scrutiny.
OK, but you say that under a Labour government that have just had a major cabinet reshuffle because it's not working. What are your thoughts on that? And also, if you would love to hear what you think about what's happened with Angela Rayner as well.
Well, I think Angela Rayner had to resign, sadly. I think she's a great political figure. She's very formidable, but she obviously made a serious mistake and she ran out of room politically. So it's sad she's gone. I like her a lot and worked with her at Labour List, but it was inevitable. In terms of the wider reshuffle, every government has had reshuffles in my whole lifetime. The mere fact of a reshuffle is neither good nor bad, but clearly Starmer's seen the polls. He's not where they want to be, and Labour openly admit that, and they need to get on to delivery. Now, I think they can do that, but things like the agreement with France over migrants, the investment in school breakfast clubs, the 40,000 extra appointments in the NHS, and so on and so on, these, we hope, will be the seeds of delivery over the next 3 or 4 years.
Do you think Keir Starmer is the person for the job to continue leading the party?
Yeah, I do, absolutely. I mean, I think what Labour lacks, to be candid, is a clear narrative, particularly about how it's going to grow the economy. But I think on energy, on schools, on planning, on house building, on those extra appointments in the NHS, it's begun to make concrete changes. And remember, if reform is the alternative, and I'm not sure it is, but if reform is the alternative seen as a major opposition, then what have we got apart from policy U-turns and a cold personality?
All right, well, Peter, stay there, because we're going to go to Christopher Hope, who's live at the Birmingham NEC, and see what his thoughts are. But we'll come back to you, Peter Edwards. Let's speak to our political editor, Christopher Hope. So, Christopher, the reaction, speeches from Richard Tice and Nigel Farage. And of course, Lucy Connelly was there as well.
None of That's right, yeah. Well, I talked to Lucy Connelly as she left the stage there, and we'll be airing that shortly on GB News. I thought there was some news there from Nigel Farage. We finally have someone with a policy amongst the MPs representing Reform UK. Lee Anderson, who until now was the party's chief whip, organising his other 3 colleagues to how to vote in Parliament. We now know he is the welfare spokesman, so he'll be speaking out on getting people back to work. He'll be taking on, for example, Pat McFadden, who is a new welfare welfare secretary in the reshuffle announced overnight and carrying on today. So Lee Anderson is now the welfare spokesman. Just at the end there, we saw Nigel Farage on stage with all the speakers at the conference, as if to show, frankly, to the world watching through GB News, of course, and elsewhere, that this isn't a one-man party. There's more to people than just Nigel Farage in charge. He's willing to share the limelight, if you like, with other people. But with me now, I've got some of the people in the audience to hear what they want to think. Hello, sir. What is your name, please?
My name's John Peddington, and I'm from Bradford.
Thank you, John. You're from Bradford. What do you make of Nigel Farage and Reform UK in this speech?
Well, first of all, I watch GB News all the time. I didn't expect to be on it, so I've done the impossible.
Well, you're on it now. Can you give us your view on Nigel Farage?
So we'll do the impossible, and he will do the impossible, and we'll have him in number 10.
And all those policies, they're fully costed because he made a lot of announcements from the platform with his colleagues this week.
Yes, if he gets the right people around him and gets the right advice, and then decides in camera, which he said he will do, discuss it before you announce anything, announce it in good time, follow it through and do it. Reform are now the only hope to the survival of the UK.
John Pennington from Bradford, thank you.
Thank you.
To you next, sir, your name, please?
It's Andrew Edge.
And where are you from, Andrew?
I'm from Ellesmere Port.
And how did that go down for someone from Ellesmere Port? Is he speaking your language? He's a Kent-based former city trader. Why is he relevant to Ellesmere Port?
Well, at the moment, Ellesmere Port is a down-and-out town. We've just had our MP fired by Justin Matters, and obviously we need a significant change in Ellesmere Port.
And have yours voted Reform? Other parties before this?
Since Reform was reborn, yes.
Before then?
Before then, I was a Tory voter, and I've come across to Reform, and I'm now a member of them, and I want to be the next MP.
Are you going to stand? Are you going to be on the candidates list?
I'm going to try to, yes.
You're wearing a Reform football shirt there.
Yes.
On the back it says Farage.
Oh, it does, yes.
Thank you for joining us. Madam, your name, please?
Hello, Pat Gray.
Hello, Pat. Where are you from?
I'm from West Yorkshire, Normanton in West Yorkshire.
How do you respond here to Nigel Farage winding up the meeting?
Absolutely fantastic. Thoroughly superb 2 days. It's the politics of hope. It's common sense. He speaks our language, family, community, country. This is what we all believe in, and we want it back, as Lee Anderson says.
But Pat, I mean, this party is exploiting people being let down by the main parties going back decades. Why won't Reform UK let you down as well? They all do, don't they?
No, I don't think this is time for something different. We have hope, and they're giving us hope. They've all been businessmen. They've all been in ordinary jobs. They know what they're talking about. They know economics, and they'll do it for us. And I gave Nigel Farage a bear for his grandson, made by my own fair hands.
So you think he can be Prime Minister? You think he's got it in him?
I'm sure he's got it in him to be a Prime Minister. I think he'll be a great Prime Minister with a fantastic team behind him, and we're all working our socks off at ground roots to make sure that happens.
Pat Gray, thank you. I'll just go over here, Jonathan May, with some other members. You're smiling away there. What do you make about Nigel Farage's speech?
I think Nigel was incredible. He resonates with the British public. The silent majority are silent no longer. It's so inspiring. He's an absolute patriot.
And your name, please, madam?
My name's Alison Marr, and we've travelled all the way from West Wales, from Pembrokeshire.
And what were you voting before Reform existed?
Well, we voted Brexit, and before then we voted Tory, but obviously they've let us down.
And just finally, you think he can do it? I mean, he's never run anything before. He exists opposing things. Why can Nigel Farage be your next Prime Minister?
I believe he has the passion to carry the will of the people forward, and I absolutely believe he will be our next PM.
Alison Esmond-Bidmar, thank you for joining us on GB News. And there you have it, Nana. They all love him here. But the question is, will that transfer into votes at elections? Well, there's a test coming up, of course, local elections next May, by-elections before that. Let's wait and see.
All right, Christopher Hope there, live at the Birmingham NEC for the Reform UK conference. Thank you very much, Christopher. So you heard what the people were saying. He spoke to some people there. They said Reform are the only hope for the survival. They're fantastic. They speak our language. The announcement, of course, of Lee Anderson being the welfare spokesperson. How can Keir Starmer compete with that? Peter Edwards, let's bring you back. Peter, you heard all of that. Do you think that Keir Starmer can compete with this sort of narrative that it seems that everyone, they've got a massive, so far in the polls, a majority of almost 15 points. Do you think Keir Starmer can win over the British public?
Yes, first of all, and I've no quibble with Reform voters, because anyone who's a party member is going to feel more strongly and more enthusiastic about their own side. Just like I'll be at Labour conference and I feel more enthusiastic about my side. But, you know, Theresa May had a big opinion poll lead, and she blew that and lost the government majority. Ed Miliband, who I have a lot of respect for, had a 10-point opinion poll lead and went backwards at the general election. Jeremy Corbyn, who I don't agree with on much, of course, had Corbyn Mania. Remember, they cheering crowds at Glastonbury before he led Labour to 2 electoral defeats. So merely enthusiasm among one's own supporters doesn't lead to anything. And there's another myth, myth number 2, which is really Reform's quote-unquote business expertise. But Lee Anderson worked for a national charity. Nigel Farage was a stockbroker, so he wasn't chief executive, he wasn't running his own business, he was part of a much bigger organisation. Richard Tice was the one in commercial property who ran his own business, and he perhaps gave the flattest of all speeches, saying it was lovely to be in Lincolnshire, while he stood in Birmingham.
Well, I mean, if that's his greatest sin, I think we could possibly forgive him that one. They've probably been moving around quite a bit, but I take your point. What do you think of Richard's plan, though, with regard to saving money, for council saving money? So his idea that there are a lot of fund managers who have massive pension funds that the council put in. There's about 500 billion or whatever he was saying that is being invested. They could use economies of scale to get a better rate for these fund managers who seem to be creaming a large profit out of that. That money could end up actually in the council. And Richard Tice said he's got meetings with fund managers and people like that alike, somebody in the city to kind of speak to them about how much commission they're taking. Surely that's something that the Labour Party could take a slice of and try and understand and maybe put that into place.
Well, what Richard Tice describes is not true, and I don't say that as a part of political attack, because in my former life as a business journalist, I read the reports of local government pension funds. They're not very exciting, as you can imagine, but myth number 1 is that councils are paying vast sums on commission to city brokers. That's not true. Myth number 2 is that there are billions of pounds of savings redirecting the local government pension scheme investments out of environmentally friendly activity. Neither of those things exist. And I say that because I've read, for example, we talked about West Yorkshire. I've read a lot of the pension fund reports for local authorities in West Yorkshire. So Richard Tice is saying things not true. And remember, Richard Tice left as leader of Reform before Farage returned because he was a failure as leader of Reform.
Well, he might have left to make room for Farage, maybe because he thought Farage would be a better leader in terms of getting an audience. And, you know, Farage does have a distinct ability and a level of charisma that attracts support. So he has a sort of Boris Johnson quality, whether you agree with him or not. We can all agree that that's a reality. But are you saying that Richard Tice is making this up? Because I can't imagine Richard Tice getting on the stage and making that up. It will be scrutinised by people, including people like you, as well as me. Are you saying there's no truth to the fact that some of those fund managers take a large commission, and this is somewhere that he could utilise economies of scale to get a better deal for councils?
Well, as I understand it, many local authorities, of which there's several hundred around the country, already pool their pension fund management already. So to be clear, I don't believe it's true. There are multi-billion-pound savings to be achieved from local governments clubbing together to kill off green investments or to get a better deal that it can be plucked out of nowhere from city asset managers. You know, and I say that because I've read the reports, and if it was possible, why has it not been done already?
Well, that's the question to you. I mean, if it is possible, you've looked into it, if it is possible, perhaps that's something that Keir Starmer's government could steal from Reform UK?
Well, there's no evidence at all that it is possible. You can't just ring up an asset manager and say, hello, I'm Richard Tice, either in Birmingham or in Lincolnshire, can I have a discount, please? That's not really how it works.
OK. Well, Peter, I thought he was referring to the fact they have such a big budget that they have a lot of power and could use economies of scale, but I hear you, and thank you for explaining that to us. It'll be interesting. We'll ask Richard Tice about that as well. We'll put your thoughts to him. Thank you very much. That's Peter Edwards, editor for the Labour List. Right, let's get the view of my panel. Journalist and broadcaster Ingrid Tarrant, and editor and contributor at Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. Ben McLean, I'll start with you. Quite an energised conference.
Sure.
What are your thoughts?
Sure. When you're looking at the positives, an energised conference, so I think that's a good thing. And again, I think that's something that the left can learn from. But... and this is where the criticisms come in. My thoughts when I was listening to particularly the appointment of Lee Anderson, I was thinking of 11-year-old Amara. And Amara is somebody who's mentioned in the 2025 Children's Commissioner report on children's experiences of poverty, which, by the way, opens with the line, "This report should not have to exist," and I fully agree with that. And Amara saves her meals every 24 hours so that she can eat alongside her mother because they couldn't afford at the time to both eat at the same time. And I think of the arrogance that it takes to put somebody like 30p Lee, who said that families could cook meals for 30p per day. I can't imagine the arrogance and contempt that you have to have for the British working class to do that. To appoint somebody like 30p Lee into the position of, what was it, welfare spokesman? Children are most vulnerable when you attack welfare. They simply are, because they make up, they're more likely to live in poverty. According to the Joseph Rowntree Foundation, 30% of children live in poverty compared to 21% of adults. So whenever you attack welfare, you're attacking children. But this is the thing, is Reform UK at the end of the day are the party of the elite. You look at their makeup, they have more elite MPs than any other party. Their MPs are Richard Tice, private schoolboy, multimillionaire CEO. Nigel Farage, private schoolboy, he's an ex-city trader. James McMurdoch, who's an investment banker. You've got 30p Lee Anderson, who's a career Tory politician.
But he was also a coal miner.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and he's sold in his lot to betray the working class and tell working class people that they can survive on 30p a day. I mean, are you going to defend that claim?
I'm slightly wrong, but I think the point he was making, and in that, he also said that he wouldn't want to take from people who really are in need, and he wants to support those people. He's not talking about those people. He's just saying that there are savings to be had, and there's many people who should be going to work who aren't going to work. And to be honest, he is right about that. We don't know who they are, but there are many people who surely don't need to be claiming benefits. And he said he didn't blame them, because if the benefits are more generous than going to work, who wouldn't do that? I think that was what he was alluding to. So maybe he wasn't right about the sums 30p, but he was trying to make the point, I think, that some people on welfare perhaps could spend their money more wisely. Ingrid Tarrant.
Well, first of all, I thought he was 50p Lee. but it's 30p Lee. But do you know, funnily enough, I did look into this. I was thinking, 30p for a meal. And do you know what?
That's 30p a day, sorry to correct you.
Yes.
30p a day.
Per person.
Yeah, 3 meals. And I think, was it per family or per
person?
Either way, ridiculous. But...
Yeah, but do you know, I had this conversation with a few people and just going, oh, that's ridiculous, how could you possibly do it? But if you're clever, you can. And you know, I would challenge someone, we should do it, potatoes.
I think that's easy for a millionaire to say.
But listen, it depends. If you can get some things cheaper on the supermarket, so you can get things in the aisle, you can get rice, potatoes, you could probably get some meat. Meat can be quite cheap.
Yeah. And then that eats out.
Some tomato.
And then you do the stock from the meat, and you have the soup, and you have really healthy diets, because that is the way to do it. But people who really can least afford it are the ones who are going out and buying fast food, which is not
why are they
nutritious.
doing that? They're doing it because they don't have the time investment, because all of that takes time.
They don't have the
know-how. Because a lot of these people are working multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. This is the reality of poverty in Britain. And Zach Polanski has his finger on the pulse, and this group of millionaires simply don't.
No, excuse me, I think that it doesn't matter what your joint income is. There are people who are working parents on both sides to make ends meet, and at the upper end as well, because they have bigger overheads, mortgages to pay, school fees, etc., etc., etc. It's relative. It's relative, and
I'm not sure how relative it is if you're living in poverty.
No, but it's disposable income. Let's put it that way. At the end of the day, it's disposable income. So let's just leave it at that. It's how you spend the disposable income in the Department of Food. And if you're going out...
Food costs aren't disposable income, Ingrid. They're just not.
It's
like,
coming from your disposable income. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or...
sorry, I don't understand that point. Are you saying that...
So, let me explain it.
Disposable income...
No, what she's...
Food is disposable income.
No, from your disposable income...
Let me just explain it.
Go for it.
You're spending on
food. Like, so it's relative to the amount you're spending. So a millionaire, even though they're a millionaire, will have huge expenses, potentially, and a small amount of disposable income, potentially. This is what she's saying.
Cry me a river for the millionaires. Like, what?
It's not about crying a river. I'm just explaining to you. I'm not...
I mean, it does sound a bit...
So if you let me finish...
Yeah,
then you
yeah, of course.
OK, so somebody who hasn't got much money, again, may have proportionately the same amount of disposable income. So
or maybe more.
She's saying, or more. That's the point Ingrid's making.
Yes. So from that, with what you've got left over at the end of the week... So then it's the food. You start looking at food. Of course, you've got to have that. So it's how you invest in your food and how you do it. So time has nothing to do with it, because if you've got both parents working, whether you're billionaires or not, it's just how you spend that time and what you... So it's quicker, of course, and it's lazy to go to McDonald's and buy non-nutritious, expensive food. Because a meal for
lazy.
4 would be more than you would spend perhaps over 3 days.
British working-class people do it because they don't have the time. This is the thing. If you're working multiple jobs, you don't have the time.
But lots of people...
You don't have the time. But if you've got the money, it doesn't matter, because you can buy that stuff. You can buy that stuff no problem.
9 o'clock at night. Do they have the time? But they make the time. They work it out. Perhaps they do a whole load of stuff and they bulk cook. Yeah.
Well, hang on. It's all very well turning to a single mother with 2 children who works 2 jobs and saying, make the time. But
well, I was a single mother with like multiple jobs.
At the end of the day, British working-class people need to be like they need the social security support in order to maintain.
To be honest, before I got here, I was a single mother with 2 very young children, and I wasn't very wealthy at all. And I had to work 2, 3, even 4 jobs a day. So there you have it. And so you know, there you have it.
Exactly. I'm with you. I've been there, done that as well.
Right. Stay with us, though. If you're in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. We may see a few showers over the Balearics during the course of Sunday. Meanwhile, it's looking fine in Italy. Lots of sunshine for Greece and most of Turkey too. Just a few showers inland. Most of the beaches staying dry and sunny. There will be a few showers, as I said, heading south across Mallorca, perhaps affecting Ibiza as well, and northern parts of Tunisia seeing a little bit of rain. And there's a weak weather front which may bring thick cloud and the odd spot of rain to the Algarve on Sunday. That clears away though by Monday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, it's been a very busy afternoon. It's currently 49 minutes after 4 o'clock. This is GB News. I'm Nana Akua. Welcome to the programme if you just tuned in. Now, if the new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, needed reminding of the size of the migrant crisis, she's got it on her first day in the job. GB News sources estimate that 600 people will cross the Channel today. That's over 29,000 migrants have already arrived from France this year before today. Well, joining me now, former Director General of UK Border Force, Tony Smith. Tony, do you see this current government getting a hold of the situation? And if you were in their shoes, what would you do?
Well, as you say, Nana, we've had changes in personnel in the Home Office, new Home Secretary, announcements today of new ministers going in there. But I don't see any major policy shift. You know, we've had a weather window, really, they've benefited from for the last 10 days or so, but that's broken now. In my experience, it is the weather. That's the main deterrent for boat crossings still. What would I do? I would bring back removals, Nana, in no uncertain terms, and detention. We have to detain them when they come off the boat and keep them in detention and fly them out of the country. Now, I did some work on the Rwanda plan with the last government on that, and that was the intention, Nana. And we did have some locked up, but the legal framework was not right. There were too many legal loopholes in the system. If we're going to do that, we're going to have a very, very fundamental change in legislation and infrastructure, build some detention centres and get those flights going out. Because in my experience, that's the only thing that's going to have a real deterrent effect on irregular asylum intake.
Well, do you think the appointment then of Shabana Mahmood is a good, welcome intervention? She's got the legal eyes. I mean, Yvette Cooper, I'm not so sure she quite understood what was going on or whether she knew what was going on at all. But Shabana Mahmood seems to have a finger on the pulse. She's made some good decisions. She's now got a veto when the Sentencing Council come up with guidelines. Do you think she's a good appointment?
Yes, I do. I respect to her and actually respect to Yvette Cooper. I gave evidence in front of Yvette Cooper a number of times when she was chairing the Home Affairs Committee. So she does know her onions. And there is justice used to be part of the Home Office. It all used to be one department when I worked there back in the day. So she will hit the ground running. And I mean, one of the big problems really is the delay in the asylum appeal system. Now, it takes over a year. If you get refused asylum, you've got a year now before you get a hearing. And the longer it goes on, the more likely we're going to let people stay. So hopefully she will be able to do something about speeding up the process. But it's not just about process being sped up, because at the moment, most of these are being granted. The vast majority are being granted. That's the best way to clear a backlog. But that's not going to solve your problem. What you need is to remove people. We can't afford to take in more asylum applicants into this country. So you have to remove them. That's why I was a fan of the Rwanda deterrent. That's why I've been looking at offshoring options, returns agreements. But you've really got to get back to removals. That's the only way to fix that. Whether Shabana Mahmood's going to be able to persuade Keir Starmer to take a different stance to the one he took when he got elected, because remember, he got elected on a ticket of unpicking Rwanda, and most of the legislation they brought in so far has done exactly that. So I'm not quite sure where this is going to go, but it'll be interesting to see.
All right, well, we've got about 20 seconds. So, in a word, do you think that perhaps the answer could be to join the Justice Department with the Home Office again, so they can talk and have better communication?
No, but I do think they need to reform the Home Office, Nana, and look back some of the previous models under UKBA, because it's broken, it's too siloed. We need a complete review of the way the Home Office is structured, and reform that whole system, which we could do. I don't think we need to rejoin with Justice, but we certainly do need to change the way the Home Office is built, and let's bring back removals targets.
Yeah, well, I like the sound of that. Tony Smith, really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your insight. That is Tony Smith. He's the former Director General of UK Border Force. Well, stay with me, because in a few minutes' time, we'll hear from Lucy Connelly, the mother who was jailed for a social media post following the Southport murders. Stay with me. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. You can also stream us live on YouTube or download the GB News app. But first, let's get an update with your weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. So there's been plenty of sunny spells around for many of us through much of today. But those winds are going to be increasing as we head through the rest of this evening and turning quite a bit warmer than it's felt recently. We've got low pressure situated out to the west of the UK, high pressure out towards the east, and the squeeze in the isobars between those two systems is what will strengthen those winds as we head through this evening. For many of us though, plenty of clear spells as we head through Saturday evening and into the early hours of Sunday morning. Bit cloudier across parts of Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland. Some outbreaks of showery rain pushing up from the south, so turning quite a bit wetter here. And those winds really strengthening across the whole of the UK, but in particular across the west. And that means quite a mild night to come for many of us. Temperatures perhaps holding up into the mid, maybe locally high teens. So a mild and muggy start to the day on Sunday. Across the southeast of the country, though, quite a bright start, some sunshine to start the day. But across the southwest, those outbreaks of showery rain arriving quite early in the morning, and across parts of Northern Ireland we'll still see quite a cloudy and damp start to the day. Western parts of Scotland also seeing some outbreaks of showery rain, but eastern parts of Scotland, northeastern parts of England will see some brighter spells to start on Sunday morning. As we then go through the rest of the morning and through into Sunday afternoon, those outbreaks of showery rain continue to push their way northwards, perhaps turning heavy at times, not completely ruling out the odd rumble of thunder too, particularly across the southwest first on Sunday morning. The southeast faring better across in terms of any drier or brighter weather, and it's going to feel really quite mild and quite muggy compared to what we've seen recently, highs of 25, 26, perhaps even 27 degrees. Then through Sunday evening, that showery rain continues to push its way northwards, turning drier across the southeast, some clear spells developing here through Sunday evening. And then it's going to remain quite changeable as we head through much of next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, seeing some showers, some longer spells of rain, but those temperatures returning much closer to average, so feeling fresher than Sunday.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Hannah. Hello and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It is 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua, and for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs, and of course, it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing, and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next hour, journalist and broadcaster Ingrid Tarrant, and also editor and contributor at Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. So it's been a huge couple of days for reform. Nigel had a rallying cry for party members as he closed the party conference today.
Next year we're going to need up to 5,000 of you standing in Swindon, standing in bits of Kent, standing in bits of Yorkshire, standing in the West Midlands, Wales, Scotland and London, where we're going to need almost 2,000 people as candidates.
So while Reform have been plotting how to win the next general election, Labour have been falling apart. Sir Keir Starmer's right-hand man, Darren Jones, has been trying to put a brave face on it.
Prime Minister was already planning a reshuffle. I'll be honest, he wanted to do it on a slightly slower time frame. When it became clear that Angela was going to leave government, the Prime Minister took decisive action and decided to bring that reshuffle forward and just get the job done on Friday.
Labour could be even more unpopular after the budget in November. Stay tuned, we'll be discussing all of that. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should Rachel Reeves increase taxes for the rich in the autumn budget? And in difficult conversations, joining me, property expert Julie Ford. Angela Rayner might not be Housing Secretary anymore, but the hated Renters' Rights Bill is still there. It is rumbling through and is likely to be passed within the next few weeks or so, and it's threatening to make life very tough for landlords. We will have a look through all of that. But before we get started, let's get your latest news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Dan. A very good evening to you. Let's get you up to date with the headlines. Police have begun making arrests at a demonstration against the government's ban of the protest group Palestine Action. And more than 1,000 people have pledged to risk arrest at this fresh protest in Parliament Square in central London. They're carrying banners in support of Palestine Action. Now, police say they took action after some demonstrators had been physically and verbally abusive towards officers carrying out their duties. The group has been prescribed under anti-terror laws. Similar rallies are taking place in Belfast and Edinburgh. Sir Keir Starmer's made sweeping changes to the Home Office as part of his government reshuffle following Angela Rayner's resignation. Shabana Mahmood was appointed Home Secretary yesterday, replacing Yvette Cooper. Well, now Sir Keir Starmer's removed Angela Eagle, who was Border Security and Asylum Minister, and Dame Diana Johnson, who was Policing and Crime Minister, in a fresh attempt to tackle illegal migration. The Prime Minister has announced a host of ministerial changes after the major cabinet reshuffle yesterday. But Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, Darren Jones, insists that was always the plan.
This is the second chapter of the Labour government. The first chapter, the first year, being a new government coming in, getting a grip with the crises, putting out the fires that we'd inherited from the Conservatives. And now we're on to chapter 2, where we get to really start to drive delivery of the promises of change that we made to the public at the last election.
Come off it. It's a panicked reshuffle in response to Angela Rayner's resignation, right? Be honest with us.
I'm being honest with you, it's not, because the Prime Minister was already planning a reshuffle. I'll be honest, he wanted to do it on a slightly slower time frame. When it became clear that Angela was going to leave government, the Prime Minister took decisive action and decided to bring that reshuffle forward and just get the job done on Friday.
Well, Nigel Farage has shifted his pledge that he made yesterday that he'd stop small boat crossings within 2 weeks of taking office. The Reform UK leader made the claim at his party's conference, which has closed in the past half hour. However, Mr Farage has since clarified the timescale, saying it would rely on any government he led passing laws first. He told GB News he'd introduced similar laws to those passed by Australia more than a decade ago.
I'm looking at the Australian example. Australia grappled with this for years. The boats coming from Indonesia, they tried all sorts of things. They tried offshore processing. They tried to pass various pieces of legislation, and frankly, none of it worked. Until suddenly, in 2012, the Prime Minister of Australia said, I've had enough. He started towing the boats back to Indonesia, and within 2 weeks they stopped coming.
But you'd have to change laws, and that would take time. It would all have to go through Parliament to pull out the ECHR,
yes,
the refugee...
it will take 2 weeks. Once we get the legislation in place, it will take 2 weeks.
Once you get the legislation in place. It sounded yesterday like you said you would stop within 2 weeks of coming into power.
We will stop within 2 weeks of legislation being passed. We'll stop the boats.
Around 100 firefighters have been tackling a blaze at the BBC's former headquarters in West London. 15 fire engines were called to the 9-storey building on Wood Lane in White City. Authorities say the fire has affected the top floors, which includes a restaurant and a number of flats. Nearby buildings were evacuated earlier as a precaution, and Wood Lane has been closed to traffic. Israeli officials are urging all residents of Gaza City to relocate to a so-called humanitarian zone of Al-Mawasi in the south of the Strip as it prepares to expand its operation. Its forces bombed a high-rise building in Gaza City yesterday, claiming it was being used by Hamas, and the army says civilians had been warned. The military has been carrying out heavy strikes across the city for weeks as they advance through the suburbs towards the city centre. A surfer who died in a shark attack off the coast of Sydney has been named. Police say the victim, named by local media as the 57-year-old Mercury Silicas, suffered critical injuries, including losing a number of limbs after he had joined friends in the water off Long Reef Beach in the north of the city. They say he was married with a young daughter. It is the first deadly shark attack in Sydney since 2022, which itself was the first fatal incident since 1963. And TV host and chef Matt Tebbutt will replace Greg Wallace as the judge on the next series of MasterChef The Professionals. Tebbutt, who's best known for hosting BBC One's Saturday Kitchen, will join chefs Marcus Waring and Monica Galetti for the next series. It comes after Wallace was sacked following a series of misconduct allegations relating to his time on the amateur series of MasterChef. Those are your headlines. More from me at 5:30.
Good afternoon. 6 minutes after 5 o'clock. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. I'm Nana Akua. Now stay tuned, because in a moment I'll get reaction from the Reform Conference, which was rounded off by Nigel Farage in the last hour. I'll be joined also by property expert Julie Ford to find out why landlords are finding it in life so tough. And of course, the Renters Reform Bill will be approaching. It's about to get a lot worse. Then, still to come in this hour's Great British Debate this hour, I'll be asking, should Rachel Reeves increase taxes for the rich in the autumn budget? All of that is on the way. As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say. So Reform UK have officially closed their party conference in Birmingham. The leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, hailed the success of the conference whilst addressing party members. Well, it was a jam-packed few days, and GB News' political editor Christopher Hope has been there for us. Let's cross live to him now for an update as the part of the conference closes. So Christopher Hope, it looks very quiet there. What was the general gist, and how were people feeling at the end of that conference?
Well, Nana, they're feeling energised. At the end of his speech there, brief speech to wrap up the conference, Nigel Farage said, stand up if you want to be a councillor or a candidate or maybe even an election candidate for Reform UK. And all around me, lots of people stood up. Now they're queuing off to the left of where I'm sitting now, and there are lots of benches there for different regions. So they're trying to get this momentum going, and that's why Nigel Farage said in his speech yesterday he thinks this government will collapse in 2027. He's trying to get them excited about the possibility of power. And on stage in his final remarks there, we heard from Nigel Farage. He mentioned the fact that he appointed his first ever front bencher with a policy remit. That's Lee Anderson. He, of course, is the party's chief whip. And we know that Richard Tice is deputy leader, but no other MP has had a policy area. Well, now Lee Anderson is the work and pensions spokesman. He'll go after people who says lie in bed, don't go out of bed, don't go to work. He's trying to speak up for working Britain Brits who do go to work and don't know why their taxes are paying for people who can't work. He obviously will be pushing very hard against that 6 million number of people who are on benefits, not at work. Why can't that figure be brought down? He'll be up against Pat McFadden in the reshuffle, of course. He's a new Work and Pensions Secretary. That could be quite a spicy debate. There is some news before I get to the rest of the Reform Conference on the reshuffle. The government's just announced that Anna Turley is the Minister of State in the Cabinet Office. Alex Norris is a new Home Office Minister. Chris Bryant was in the Culture Department, now at the same ranking but in the Business Department. Georgia Gould in the Education Department is the Ministry of State. And Ellie Reeves, the sister of Rachel Reeves, she was in the Cabinet Office as a role of a former party chairman role, and she is now the Solicitor General. Lucy Rippey, who held that role, is now in the Treasury. So lots of changes while we've been here in Birmingham. Of course, earlier we heard how there's been a bit of a clear out. Many people have moved jobs from the Home Office. Dan Jarvis stays there. We think Jess Phillips stays there, but those who have left include Dame Angela Eagle, the Immigration Minister, and Dame Diana Johnson. She's the Policing Minister. Dame Angela Eagle's gone to Environment. Dame Diana Johnson to Work and Pensions. Before Nigel Farage spoke and before Richard Tice spoke, of the party deputy leader, we heard from Lucy Connelly. Now, she, of course, is the housewife who was jailed for tweeting intemperately in the wake of the Southport riots, calling for mass deportations now, and talking about setting fire to an asylum hotel for all I care, she said. Well, she spoke on stage earlier today to the members of this party. She criticised plans that she said, I don't know why people are arresting people for posting online. She was widely applauded. She also talked about the number of women in prisons, and said that as many as 80% of women in jails shouldn't be there. Of course, someone who's been in prison, she would met many women prisoners. She said they need care and mental health support. But as she left the stage, I had a chance to speak to her, and I asked her about her plans, maybe her political plans for the future. Here's what Lucy Connelly told GB News about an hour ago.
How are you? How do you find that?
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed the opportunity to get my point across.
You really did. Can I ask you though, do you want to be a candidate for reform of the election, or just advise them on criminal justice?
Well, who knows? You know, I didn't ever think I'd end up in prison, so who knows what's going to happen in the future.
And you want to release all women, most 80% of women female prisoners?
Absolutely. I would release most of them, and they wouldn't be a danger to you or I. They just need help.
What do you make of the policy here in this party to scrap the Online Safety Act?
I welcome that. It's, you know, we're censored way too much now. Of course, we've got to keep our children safe, but that, you know, that comes with parental responsibility as well, not just the government. I don't want to live in a world where the government tells us everything we can and can't do.
When you talk to your fellow prisoners, they said you're in prison for a tweet. And how do they react to that?
They just didn't believe it. They just thought it was a joke. You know, like, are you joking? They just thought it was ridiculous. So, yeah.
How's your life now? What restrictions are you on moving around?
I'm not going to talk about that. No, another time.
But just briefly, looking forward, do you think you back Nigel Farage for Prime Minister?
100% Nigel for PM. Yeah.
And you could be a candidate maybe for him at the election.
We'll see.
Lucy Connelly, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
We'll see there. We heard there from Lucy Connelly. We'll see. Will she stand to be a candidate at the general election. We'll wait and see about that. But there we have Lucy Connelly there, got a wide-ranging round of applause from people in the audience. She, of course, is seen by many supporting her case, saying why was she imprisoned for tweets? And that, of course, is an issue which has also had resonance across the Atlantic, where I've been with Nigel Farage giving evidence to the Congress there about the issue of freedom of speech. So Lucy Connelly not ruling out being candidate for Reform UK at the next general election. Nana.
Right, Christopher Hope, thank you very much. That's Christopher Hope there at the Birmingham NEC for the Reform UK conference, which has just ended. Well, I'm joined by the former Tory MP Daniel Kaczynski for his thoughts as well. Look, Daniel, you're a former Tory MP. Why did you leave the party?
Well, I haven't left the party. I'm a former Conservative MP, but I'm very much a member of the Conservative Party. I'm a member of Westminster Conservative Association.
So, looking at the Conservatives now, how do you think that they're faring? We've got Nadine Dorries, who defected to Reform, and she said that the Tory party were dead. Do you think that?
No, I think the Conservative Party has been through difficulties at various stages throughout my lifetime. I remember when I was first setting out in politics as a parliamentary candidate in 2003, we were at something like 20% in the opinion polls under Ian Duncan Smith, and people were writing off the Conservative Party as finished and dead in 2003. We then went on to win 3 general elections. So, of course, politics is cyclical. It's very damaging that the right is split to the degree it is split today. And I very much hope that, obviously, the Conservative Party will win through over the coming years in exposing the damage that Sir Keir and his government are doing to this country economically.
But in all those times, in those elections that you've alluded to, you never had real strong opposition on the right, as you have now with Reform UK, who are storming ahead in the polls. I know the polls aren't always correct. So having watched that Reform UK conference, if you saw parts of it, do you think the Tory party actually have a chance to survive?
Well, you're right in that we've never faced this sort of level of challenge from the right. But then again, I don't think we've ever seen this sort of level of challenge on the left, in the sense that Sir Keir Starmer is facing, obviously, the new party from Jeremy Corbyn and Mrs Sultana, which could take a significant amount of votes from the Labour Party. There's a strong Liberal Democrat Party, which is also on the left. So, you know, I mean, the Labour Party is facing an equal existential threat as we are facing from Reform. But one thing I promise you is that the vast majority of former Conservatives, MPs like me, are staying loyal to the party. We believe in the party. I started to campaign for the Conservative Party in 1990 as an 18-year-old boy when I went to university. And, you know, we believe in our party. And just because some people have defected doesn't diminish in any way our resolve to continue to support our party.
And very briefly, finally, do you think Kemi Badenoch is the right person to lead the party to the next general election?
I do, very much so. And I was saying to a young person the other day, I remember reading about the extraordinary levels of criticism that Margaret Thatcher received in 1975, 76, 77, 78, in the run-up to her becoming Prime Minister. And there were many people who tried to dislodge Margaret Thatcher at that time. She went on to become our greatest Prime Minister post-Second World War. And I said to Kemi, when I was voting for her, I see traces of Margaret Thatcher in you, and that's why I'm prepared to support you. I think we've got to give Kemi more time, and I have every confidence she will be a great leader of the party.
All right, Daniel, thank you very much. That's Daniel Kaczynski, a former Tory MP, but still a member of the Conservative Party. Thank you, Daniel. All right, to get some more reaction to the Reform Party conference, joining me, former Labour speechwriter James Matthewson. James Matthewson, welcome to the programme. Really good to talk to you. James, so seeing the energy and the levels of the ideas that the Reform UK party leaders have come up with, do you think that Keir Starmer is in trouble?
He certainly needs to deal with this, but not in the way that he is dealing with it. You know, his current strategy is trying to shift to the right, trying to kind of echo reform and head them off. It's not going to work, I'm afraid. Everyone knows what the Labour Party is and what the Labour Party is meant to stand for. You can't just suddenly dress yourself up as a right-winger and pretend that you're hard on these issues. We saw it with the Island of Strangers rhetoric. You know, he came out with that, and a few days later he said that he regretted saying it. So,
but he didn't write that, did he? He never wrote that, though. And he said he hadn't read it either.
Well, nobody said it, didn't he? So, you know, at the same time, you've got to try and think, like, what do you even represent? What is your point of being in politics? Because if you're just going to move like a weather vane in any direction, then that's not going to give people any idea that you've got conviction, authenticity, or any of the things that people are looking for, and indeed turn to reform when they're desperate enough to do so.
So I take it you support Keir Starmer then, by that? I'm joking.
Yeah.
Look, seriously.
Not a chance.
So are you somebody who supports Keir Starmer, or would you rather see somebody else leading the Labour Party? And also, just in that question, do you think that it was the right thing for Angela Rayner to go?
Yeah, so the Angela Rayner situation is a great shame. I understand why she's gone. I understand why she took the decision, not least of all the pressure on her and the media attention. But of course, politics is very fickle, and it's very difficult to try and communicate anything of any kind of complexity in 5 minutes. You know, if you've got a 30-second soundbite to try and explain yourself, and the question is that you did do the thing you've been accused of doing, regardless of why you did it, then it's still going to be very difficult. But yeah, of course I would love to see somebody else lead the Labour Party. I would love to see the Labour Party be what the Labour Party is meant to be. But it is no longer, and I can't support it. I got an email just before I came on air, actually, Nana, saying it's not specifically for me, I must say. It's one of the ones that goes out to lots of former members. And it says, "James, we want you back." So that must have gone out to loads of people, and it mentions Angela Rayner in it. They're trying to get members back on board in the wake of Angela leaving. I just think, you know, good luck to them, but I won't be coming back.
And finally, some of the things, the reform, Richard Tice promised, getting money, making more money for councils by dealing with some of the fund managers and giving them a smaller share, so that because you've got such large amounts of money. Did some of the ideas that Reform UK came up with, are you on board with any of those?
No, here's the problem with Reform UK, and I don't think you're going to like this now. This is the bit you need to brace yourself for. But unfortunately, Nigel Farage, right? This is a man who receives around £94,000 of taxpayers' money every year for doing a job that he seems hesitant to do. He's in America more than he's in Clacton at the moment. He receives, a lot of money for being on this channel and having a show, which he sends to a private company to avoid paying tax. He had a house...
But that's got nothing to do with anything.
No,
that's
I'm
irrelevant.
in the middle of it, hang on. And he registered his house in his constituency through his girlfriend's name so that he didn't have to pay tax on it. And also...
But that was legal.
This is a man who received money from Nomad Capitalist, a company who specialise in getting economic migrants who are millionaires into the country, and he advised them and gave them a speech for £40,000.
Where have you found the evidence of that? Sorry, James, because that's quite an interesting thing you're saying there.
The evidence is in the register of members' interest. Lots of media outlets are talking about this now, but GBNews don't seem to be, and I can't help but wonder if it's because he's got a TV show with you.
Well, it's not with me, remember, I'm just a part of the channel, to be fair. Yeah. And actually, I don't particularly support any political party. I just listen to what people are saying, and then I make my decision at the end. So I'm not really with anybody at the moment.
If
but
there was an election tomorrow, would you vote for Nigel, do you think?
I have no idea who I'd vote for, but for right now, none of them, because none of them are ready. So if you ask me that, I'd probably not vote for any of them, because no one's ready.
If we're talking about politicians dodging on tax and public duty,
well, all I can say on that, James, is if you are doing a legal tax avoidance scheme that is legal and people can use it, and it's legal, and you're paying the right amount of tax using that scheme, that is legal. So I can't make a comment.
Yeah,
however, if you're using a tax avoidance scheme but you're not paying the right amount of money, then, like Angela Rayner, sadly, then you have to go. And I like Angela, to be honest with you, but her position was untenable.
But what we talk about with politicians, isn't it, is not just the legal, it's the moral. It's important that, you know, and especially somebody who dresses themselves as a patriot, says he loves Britain, flies out to America, slags Britain off, gets paid by foreign millionaires, avoids paying tax at every opportunity, it seems like. I just can't understand how that same man can then stand there and say, by the way, do you know what all your problems are caused by? Immigrants. When actually,
well, I don't think he's quite said that, and his policies are, to be fair to him, James, his policies are about, Richard Tice talked about saving the council money, he talked about lots of other things apart from immigration, but a lot of people might argue that immigration is the #1 subject that people want solved. So to be fair to him. But listen, James, we've run out of time. We've run out of time.
The welfare one's very interesting, just really quickly. £73 a week.
All right, we'll check all that out. We'll check all that out. James, we've run out of time. I'm going to have to leave it there. Really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. James Mathewson, he was a former Labour speech writer. Those are his thoughts. What are yours? gbnews.com/your say. Next up, difficult conversations. Joining me, property expert Julie Ford. She'll tell me why millions of landlords are finding it so hard under the Labour government and why it might be about to get a lot worse.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Are you certified to drive a steam locomotive?
I am. Indeed, I am.
Well done.
I've had the privilege of doing it on a number of occasions elsewhere, yes.
Marvellous. Well, have a great outing. Yes. Well, let's go from steam power to battery power, if we may. Now, who organised this event, and did it have a serious purpose?
It wasn't just a stunt. I've been involved in the Great Western Railway battery train project for a number of years now, on and off, and so observing it. And I had the privilege of going to see it being moved from the depot in Long Marston in the Cotswolds down to Reading last year. And the reason this is being done, it's a former underground train that has been sort of converted and upgraded and turned something completely modern and new. You could never tell it's a 1970s underground train. What is crucial about this is the fast charge battery power that's underneath it, really. That's technology they've been testing this with. And it's 6 big batteries, very modern, unusual, high-tech batteries, with charging that happens at stations. As it gives it a massive sort of oomph of power when it is stationary at a station, which is a couple of minutes, powers it right up, with 2 little sort of charging rails. You can shoes underneath, and then lets this train carry on for a long distance at a very decent acceleration. But what this is crucial for, really, is you think about the railway lines we have around Britain, rural branch lines, where ideally we would electrify. We'd have, the decent, overhead electricity or under rails. But that's very, very, very expensive, and is unlikely to get a business case for those in some of the more rural branch lines, probably for the next decade or two. It would like to have it earlier, but we're probably not going to. So there's a stopgap solution here.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. If you just tuned in, where have you been? It's been such a busy show. We've just been at the Reform UK conference. We're now back in the studio. You're with me. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel, 27 minutes after 5 o'clock. And it's time for this week's difficult conversations. Now, there are almost 3 million landlords in the UK, and many of them fear that they'll be hit hard by Labour in the budget in November with a possible introduction of a national insurance on rental income, which is a bit of a worry. But even before that, because on Monday's a big day, they're going to be talking about this, the Renters' Rights Bill. It is set to become law very shortly, and that will ban Section 21 evictions. All of this at a time when Angela Rayner has resigned as Housing Secretary. She kind of had to, and being replaced by Steve Reed. So joining me now is property expert Julie Ford to run us through it. Now, Julie, it is an important thing to talk about because whilst we're all looking at Angela Rayner and talking about all the other bits and pieces that are going on, a lot of migration topics and things, what is coming on the line is on Monday, they're going to be talking more about the Renters' Rights Bill. Now, talk to me about what it is and what the fear is both for landlords and tenants.
OK, so the Renters' Rights Bill is due to come back into Parliament on Monday, and it's going to have its sort of final stages. That's where they tidy up all the amendments that have been come through. So it's sort of like the last stage. And it's what we call ping-pong. So what happens then is it pings between the House of Commons and the House of Lords until they're both happy with it, and then it gets passed to the King to put his signature on it, and suddenly we get royal assent. So that's going to happen quite quickly. And I think with this reshuffle and everything like that, I'm confident there's not going to be a delay. And I know a lot of people hoped that there would be. So the Renters' Rights Bill originally started as the Renters' Reform Bill back when the Tories were in. When Rishi called the election, that was popped in the shredder to be no more. We all breathed a sigh of relief and thought, thank goodness for that. Unfortunately, Matthew Pennycook took it out of the shredder, got his sellotape, stuck it back together, tweaked it a bit, and we have the Renters' Rights Bill. It is very renters' right heavy, as the name says on the tin. It's not a balanced piece of legislation. So we have, as you've already mentioned, the Section 21 notice being abolished. Section 21 is more commonly known as no-fault eviction. So basically, the tenant's done nothing wrong. Landlord just wants their house back, please. But interestingly, the media will tell you that Section 21 is basically the reason why every tenant ever gets evicted. But looking at the Ministry of Justice statistics for last year, it was actually just less than 1% of tenants evicted using Section 21. Section 21 isn't the only problem. Fixed-term tenancies are going to be no more. So where landlords and tenants alike had the security of maybe 6 or 12 months or longer, they won't have that anymore. There'll be periodic and month-by-month tenancies. So there's really not a lot of security either side. Tenants will be able to give 2 months' notice at any point, including on the day of move-in. It's very unlikely your tenant is going to hand you their eviction while you're giving them the keys, but the legislation allows them to do that. And then, of course, we've got everything else that's rumbled into that, such as the Decent Home Standard, AWAB's law, the database that landlords will mandatorily have to be part of, the new ombudsman system, and obviously rent increases having to be market rent, whereas at the moment there's no limit to when rent and how it's increased. So, yeah, an awful lot for landlords to get their head around.
And what about, are there any benefits to the landlords for this?
I think overall there will be benefits. I mean, it will be a clearer system for them to evict tenants. So at the moment, Section 21, you can use it kind of much for anything. A clearer system under the new Section 8 tenancies. And also you'll be in the situation where I think tenants will actually stay longer because they won't have that fear of the Section 21, or I might just be evicted if I don't know, report a repair, for example. And then obviously there's not much else that's of benefit to landlord, unfortunately.
Yeah. But for the tenants, this is great news, isn't it? Happy days.
Yeah, for the tenant, like I say, it's much more on the tenant side. It's much more biased for tenants.
Really? So as a tenant, what would be... Because a lot of people are tenants, a lot of landlords sort of listening and watching. But for the tenants, what are the best bits for them?
So the best bits for tenants are the fact that they don't have that Section 21, so they're going to have a reason now, landlords, to evict tenants. There are currently 21 reasons under Section 8. That's going to be increased to 36 reasons.
So some of those reasons a landlord can get rid of a tenant, what are they?
So there'll be the things like if the landlord wants to sell the property, if the landlord or a family member of the landlord wants to move back in. So there'll be new grounds being introduced for that. And of course, you've got the usual common ones like rent arrears, antisocial behaviour, that sort of thing. So there should be a ground that pretty much covers every reason that a landlord would or should need to evict.
And if they are evicted again, is it back to the slow court system? Which is, you know, what happens there? Is it just kind of goes back to the normal way now of evictions?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Section 21, you normally don't have a hearing. It's what's basically called a box judgment. So the judge doesn't need anybody in front of him. As long as all the documents are in order, there's your possession order, you move forward. But under Section 8, because you're accusing the tenant of doing something, under English law, they have every right to defend themselves. So you get a hearing. And of course, we already know the courts are backed up. COVID had a lot to do with that. We're still actually recovering in the courts from that. Looking at the most recent statistics again from the Ministry of Justice, it's round about 28 weeks from issue of notice to eviction. That's quite some considerable amount of time.
It's like half a year.
Yeah.
6 months.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Julie, it's for landlords, they're probably listening to this thinking, I want to sell up straight away. I don't blame them, I get it. But I don't know, it's got another phase on Monday. From Monday, very briefly, how long do you think it will be before it becomes law?
That's a how long is a piece of string question.
Because they obviously want to get it done.
I would say they are still going to stick quite tightly to their original plan of October, November.
Right, OK, Julie Ford, thank you very much. Really good to get your thoughts on that. So if you were being distracted by Angela Rayner and everything else, and you're a landlord, don't be distracted by all of that, and make sure you keep yourself in tune with what's happening with the Renters Reform Bill. But if you've just tuned in 33 minutes after 5 o'clock, this is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. Coming up in the Great British Debate, I'm going to be asking, should Rachel Reeves increase taxes for the rich in the autumn budget? You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, journalist and broadcaster Ingrid Tarrant, and editor and contributor to Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Aaron Armstrong.
Thanks, Anna. Good evening to you. Our headlines. Police have begun making arrests at a demonstration against the government's ban of the protest group Palestine Action. Hundreds of people have gathered in London's Parliament Square holding banners of support for the proscribed terror organisation. Sir Keir Starmer's made sweeping changes to the Home Office as part of his government reshuffle. He's announced a host of new roles for several junior ministers today. It follows Shabana Mahmood's appointment as Home Secretary yesterday, replacing Yvette Cooper. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage has altered his pledge to stop small boat crossings within 2 weeks of taking office. He now says arrivals will stop 2 weeks after passing legislation if he forms the next government. Israeli officials are urging all residents of Gaza City to evacuate to a humanitarian zone in the south of the Strip as it prepares to expand its military operation. And TV host and chef Matt Tebbutt will replace Greg Wallace as a judge on the next series of MasterChef The Professionals. Wallace was sacked following a series of misconduct allegations related to his time on the amateur series. Here's your headlines. I'll be back with more at 6 o'clock.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. So there's been plenty of sunny spells around for many of us through much of today. But those winds are going to be increasing as we head through the rest of this evening and turning quite a bit warmer than it's felt recently. We've got low pressure situated out to the west of the UK, high pressure out towards the east, and the squeeze in the isobars between those two systems is what will strengthen those winds as we head through this evening. For many of us, though, plenty of clear spells as we head through Saturday evening and into the early hours of Sunday morning. A bit cloudier across parts of Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland. Some outbreaks of showery rain pushing up from the south, so turning quite a bit wetter here. And those winds really strengthening across the whole of the UK, but in particular across the west. And that means quite a mild night to come for many of us. Temperatures perhaps holding up into the mid, maybe locally high teens. So a mild and muggy start to the day on Sunday. Across the southeast of the country, though, quite a bright start, some sunshine to start the day. But across the southwest, those outbreaks of showery rain arriving quite early in the morning. And across parts of Northern Ireland, we'll still see quite a cloudy and damp start to the day. Western parts of Scotland also seeing some outbreaks of showery rain, but eastern parts of Scotland, northeastern parts of England, will see some brighter spells to start on Sunday morning. As we then go through the rest of the morning and through into Sunday afternoon, Those outbreaks of showery rain continue to push their way northwards, perhaps turning heavy at times, not completely ruling out the odd rumble of thunder too, particularly across the southwest first on Sunday morning. The southeast faring better across in terms of any drier or brighter weather, and it's going to feel really quite mild and quite muggy compared to what we've seen recently, highs of 25, 26, perhaps even 27 degrees. Then through Sunday evening, that showery rain continues to push its way northwards, turning drier across the southeast, some clear spells developing here through Sunday evening. And then it's going to remain quite changeable as we head through much of next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, seeing some showers, some longer spells of rain, but those temperatures returning much closer to average, so feeling fresher than Sunday.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon. 39 minutes after 5 o'clock. If you just tuned in, you're tuned in near the end of the show. We start at 3. See you at 3. Yes, join me at 3 next time. But I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It's time now for the Great British Giveaway, our biggest package and prize to date, worth over an incredible £104,000. Your chance to drive away very carefully with your new 4-berth motorhome and also bank a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash. Here are the details that you need.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck indeed. Right, loads of things still to come. But right now it's time for the Great British Debate, and I'm asking, should Rachel Reeves increase taxes for the rich in the autumn budget? So on Wednesday, the Chancellor of the Exchequer denied claims of a £50 billion black hole in the public finances. But everyone is expecting more tax rises to be announced in November. And today, Marks & Spencer's food boss, Alex Freudman, has warned that the Labour Party is making life harder for farmers. More than 6,000 agricultural, forestry and fishing businesses have closed in just 12 months. That really should be telling them something. And that, of course, followed the government's inheritance tax raid. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should Rachel Reeves increase taxes for the rich in the autumn budget? Well, joining me now is journalist and broadcaster Ingrid Tarrant, and also editor and contributor at Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. I'll start with you, Ingrid Tarrant.
No, I don't.
Even for the super rich?
Even for the super rich. They're going to leave, and a lot of people have left already. So I'm a great believer in small profit, big turnover. So just have the highest rate tax, and then you'll encourage people to live in the country, stay in the country, invest in the country. But the way that it's going now, look at the economy, it's gone right down, and there's a 50 billion hole, as they're saying now.
Well, they said that it wasn't there. That was the amount.
You know, of course they're going to say that. I think it's absolutely wrong. I think, I think that everybody should be taxed 10%. And I actually think, I mean, you know, I'm not an economist, and there must be number crunching people out there. But, you know, I do wonder if that wouldn't be fair to all. People will be earning more money. There's a higher rate. It's tiered anyway. So it's kind of compensating that way. And I think it would be a terrible, terrible mistake, because there's already a drain, and there's going to be a bigger drain, and we've lost investment into this country and everything else that goes with it, because it's taxing at all different levels as well. So we're losing businesses.
Ben McLean.
Well, we wouldn't have a flat tax rate, because the principle of taxation is that you tax the people who can afford it the most. The inequalities within society should benefit the least advantaged the most, and the most advantaged the least. It's called the difference principle of distributive justice.
Though?
No, that's why you have the tiered system, as you said, but that contradicts the idea of a flat tax rate. I again go back to the Children's Commissioner report. It stuck with me, the stories that I read from children's accounts of poverty. Like there was a boy who could tell when his mother had the bills coming in. There's children living in poverty, and I think he was about 15, and he could tell when his mother had the bills come in, because she'd try and hide it from her little boy by sobbing into her hand. And the reason that this sort of poverty still exists in the UK and has been on the increase is because we've had, like, Rachel Reeves is continuing the policy of many Tory governments before her. I think she is a Tory, and has chosen to cut welfare. Farage is, by the way, also targeting welfare, because he's a millionaire private school boy and an ex-city trader. We should tax the rich properly. Of course we should.
No.
And according to you, Governor...
I'll just correct you on that. It's because the welfare bill is huge, and there seems to be many million, I think it's 6 million, who are on benefits, and that's kind of unsustainable. So there's got to be some people in there who really shouldn't be claiming welfare.
Exactly.
That's not a correction. I said that lots of people are living in poverty, and you said, yes, we're spending a lot on people living in poverty.
I was saying with regard to what you said about Farage.
Farage is...
I mean, the reason why he's doing that is because he's a millionaire.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't care.
No, and I'm saying the reason he's doing that is because of the welfare bill.
Oh, no, he doesn't care.
That's what I'm saying.
He doesn't care. He's a millionaire. No one knows what anyone else thinks.
After the people...
Well, no.
You've just admitted that no one knows what anyone else thinks.
I can take a good go. Also, we know through polling what people think. 78% of the British public, according to a YouGov poll conducted in March, would support a 2% wealth tax on assets over £10 million. I think that's perfectly reasonable. If you've got over £10 million, for goodness sake, give some to that little boy who watches his mother cry about bills coming in.
So very briefly, English, you've got about 30 seconds to come back on that.
I don't know what to come back on that with, exactly.
Yeah, that's even better. Right, so it's 45 minutes after 5 o'clock. Let's have a look. If you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast of some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello. We may see a few showers over the Balearics during the course of Sunday. Meanwhile, it's looking fine in Italy. Lots of sunshine for Greece and most of Turkey too. Just a few showers inland. Most of the beaches staying dry and sunny. There will be a few showers, as I said, heading south across Mallorca, perhaps affecting Ibiza as well, and northern parts of Tunisia seeing a little bit of rain. And there's a weak weather front which may bring thick cloud and the odd spot of rain to the Algarve on Sunday. That clears away though by Monday.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Well, good afternoon. If you just tuned in, great to have your company. Don't forget you can download the GB News app. You can check out all the programmes on the channel at your leisure. I'm Nana Akua. We are Britain's news channel. And it's time now for my quick-fire quiz. It's the part of the show where I test my panel on some of the other stories hitting the headlines right now. So joining me, broadcaster and journalist Ingrid Tarrant. Your buzzer, please. And also editor and contributor to Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. Your buzzer, please. Thank you, and of course, please play along at home. Question 1, multiple choice. Which politician started their speech at the Reform UK conference? Please wait till I finish. You pressed the buzzer before I finished, then you figure out. At the Reform UK party conference by singing a song they wrote themselves. Was it A, Dame Andrew Jenkins, B, Nigel Farage, or C, Lee Anderson? Yes.
Andrew Jenkins.
That's right, it is Dame Andrew.
She's an opera singer. She was an opera singer.
She was.
Yeah.
She was slightly out of tune on the Royal National Anthem still. I couldn't sing like that. OK, the answer is, of course, A, Dame Andrea Jenkins. Have a listen.
I'm an insomniac. I'm an insomniac.
I'm an alto, creme de la creme. Deep voice can't sing like that. Insomniac. Right, question 2, open question. On what date will Rachel Reeves deliver her autumn budget?
Oh.
It's...
Ben.
I want to go... It's late November, 29th of November.
You need
to around...
Brother, if you want to be considered.
Late November.
Hurry up and go.
Oh, no, I don't want to be considered.
Brother, say something. Choose a date in November. Press your buzzer first. Hurry up.
15th.
15th of November. Nah, that's not right. But you're close.
Oh, 26.
So the answer is November the 26th. Nil point. Fine, I quite enjoyed that. Right, question 3. And this is closest answer wins. How much stamp duty did Angela Rayner underpay? Ingrid Tarrant.
30,000. 40,000.
How to take your first answer? Press your buzzer answer.
It's 40,000, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you win that point.
Yeah. I feel like I cheated a bit there.
That.
You can't just list through a load of answers and you pick... No, Everybody knows that. So it's 2-1.
I didn't know that, though. Everybody else might, but I didn't.
Everybody knows that, Ingrid. All right, so what's the score? What's the score? Is it 1-1? It's 1-1. All right, 1-1. All right, question 4. The answer, of course, is £40,000. She was meant to pay £70,000. She paid only £30,000. Unfortunately, she had to go. Right, question 4. True or false? Scanners have been implemented in some supermarkets to help shoppers determine the ripeness of...
True.
I've started, so I'll finish.
Oh.
First person.
True.
Ben.
I'll go with false to make it interesting. Go on. I don't actually know.
It's actually true. I don't know whether to... I'll give you the point, but this is the different decider. If he gets it wrong, then you'll win. But if he gets it right, then it's a draw. Right, question 5. What will the first named storm of winter be called after meteorologists revealed that their latest alphabetical list? Is it A, Storm Amelia, B, Storm Aralia, or C, Storm Amy?
Amelia.
That is A, and your choice. Choose a different one.
Yeah, I'll go. Oh, I've got to press the button. C. I'll go with Storm Aralia.
Storm Aralia. Well, it's the score is. Storm.
Oh my goodness!
Neither has got it.
Didn't get it. Oh, that was brutal.
I thought it went in alphabetical. I know it goes from the beginning in alphabetical, A, B, C, and it alternates with male, female, and stuff, or whatever it does. But I thought it might be alphabetical order.
Well, unfortunately, you thought wrong. It was,
anyway, thought wrong.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was C. The thing is, you did murmur C, then you changed your mind before you pressed the buzzer. So you are the winner today. 2-1, sadly, Ingrid.
Oh, well, OK.
But anyway, it was good.
Well, that's a hollow victory.
Yeah.
We did have a
cheated a bit
on gbnews.com. I know lots of you were answering the questions. I wonder if you can rustle up the answers. No, sadly, we haven't done that. Never mind. Well, it's been fun. Thank you very much, Ben. Did you enjoy your first day?
Yes, yeah, very nice. Thank you.
What do you think? Yeah, you going to come back?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I think I'm.
Will you invite him back?
Already.
Oh, we'll have to sort that out. And thank you very much, Ingrid. Really good.
Thank you, Nana.
Fabulous. And of course, thank you to you for your company as ever. Thank you to my panel, broadcaster and journalist Ingrid Tarrant, and also editor and contributor of Turn Left Media, Ben McLean. And thank you to you at home for your company. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Up next, it's the Saturday 5.
Yes, thank you, Nana. It's a revamped Saturday 5 this week. The panel's launched a coup. The despotic Alex Armstrong has been deposed. I'm a bit uncomfortable with him behind me right now, but nonetheless, it's going to be a cracking show. We've got the Reform Conference, we've got Labor chaos, digital IDs coming, unfortunately. You're not going to want to miss a minute on the People's Channel.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. So there's been plenty of sunny spells around for many of us through much of today. But those winds are going to be increasing as we head through the rest of this evening and turning quite a bit warmer than it's felt recently. We've got low pressure situated out to the west of the UK, high pressure out towards the east, and the squeeze in the isobars between those two systems is what will strengthen those winds as we head through this evening. For many of us though, plenty of clear spells as we head through Saturday evening and into the early hours of Sunday morning. Bit cloudier across parts of Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland. Some outbreaks of showery rain pushing up from the south, so turning quite a bit wetter here. And those winds really strengthening across the whole of the UK, but in particular across the west. And that means quite a mild night to come for many of us. Temperatures perhaps holding up into the mid, maybe locally high teens. So a mild and muggy start to the day on Sunday. Across the southeast of the country, though, quite a bright start, some sunshine to start the day. But across the southwest, those outbreaks of showery rain arriving quite early in the morning. And across parts of Northern Ireland, we'll still see quite a cloudy and damp start to the day. Western parts of Scotland also seeing some outbreaks of showery rain, but eastern parts of Scotland, northeastern parts of England, will see some brighter spells to start on Sunday morning. As we then go through the rest of the morning and through into Sunday afternoon, those outbreaks of showery rain continue to push their way northwards, perhaps turning heavy at times, not completely ruling out the odd rumble of thunder too, particularly across the southwest first on Sunday morning. The southeast faring better across in terms of any drier or brighter weather, and it's going to feel really quite mild and quite muggy compared to what we've seen recently, highs of 25, 26, perhaps even 27 degrees. Then through Sunday evening, that showery rain continues to push its way northwards, turning drier across the southeast. Some clear spells developing here through Sunday evening. And then it's going to remain quite changeable as we head through much of next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, seeing some showers, some longer spells of rain, but those temperatures returning much closer to average, so feeling fresher than Sunday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232.